Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Come on down. Congratulations, Browns Valley. Yeah. And picture.
Look at that. Perfect. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
All right, congratulations once again. I don't believe, just want to double check. Do we have staff here or the principal from McKinney Intermediate? Okay, well, the staff, come on down. McKinney Intermediate is another school having received the Gold Award. Congratulations, McKinney, on behalf of also Principal Troy Hain. Congratulations. You in all your glory right there. Congratulations.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The silver level of award. Is there anyone here from Arboga Elementary School or Principal Joe Sider? Oh, they missed their night. Next, we would like to congratulate at the silver Cordova Elementary School. Once again, Melissa White and your staff, please come on down.
Perfect. That looks good. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you.
Congratulations. Next, we are happy to award Edgewater Elementary School Principal Renee Henderson and staff. Come on down.
Everyone in the middle, please. One, two, three.
Congratulations. Also, silver award, Foothill Intermediate School Principal Ashley Vetty and staff. Congratulations. Congratulations. And Ms. Vetty, you bet, stay up. Once again, Ms. Vetty and her school, Loma Rica Elementary. Congratulations. Staff, come on up. Nicely done. Congratulations. And our last silver award school, Marysville High School Principal Dr. David Vujovic and staff, please come on down. 6. Yeah.
Ready?
Congratulations, Marysville High School. We have 2 schools being honored at the bronze level. Kynoch Elementary School, Principal Derek Morrison and staff, come on down. Don't tell me.
Okay, ready, everyone? Ready, 1, 2, 3.
Nicely done, congratulations. And our final school receiving award tonight for PBIS at the bronze level, Yuba Gardens Intermediate, Principal Jim Hayes and staff.
Ready, 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations, and congratulations to all of our PBIS schools. Our next award this evening is the CTE Community Impact Award. The district hosted local realtors for a bus tour luncheon last month. After the tour, the group was greeted with flower arrangements from the floral design classes at Lyndhurst and Marysville High Schools that added a boost of cheer and beauty that afternoon. Also, chocolate mousse, might I say scrumptious chocolate mousse, and cheesecake with a pumpkin caramel drizzle was served for dessert, and that came from the culinary class at Lyndhurst High School. So this evening we are thanking those students and staff members who helped to put this on. From Lyndhurst High School, Chase Bisbee, floral design instructor. Thank you, come on down. And from Marysville High School, Kylie Stout, floral design instructor. Come on down. And I'll just highlight as we get ready for our picture op, Mr. Chef Tim Levette, who's not here this evening, but we will take a picture with our 2 floral design instructors.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Congratulations. It's an evening of awards. Tonight, we're also recognizing the American Indian Educator Program under the direction of Pat Bennett. The American Indian Program provides students with the opportunity to become engaged in the educational process by helping them master basic skills, become knowledgeable about their cultural heritage, and strengthen their ability to make good decisions in the future for success. We want to thank Ms. Bennett and the American Indian Program. Thank you. Come on down, Ms. Bennett. If you have not seen the powwows that are conducted right outside the front here, you are missing something spectacular. Pat, you can stay up here. Also from the Indian Ed program, we're recognizing 2 students. One is Joshua Williams from Marysville High School. Come on down, Mr. Williams. Joshua is one of the featured artists during the exhibit at the Yuba-Sutter Arts Council. Joshua shows a tremendous dedication to learning about his culture. He's always respectful, expresses his thoughts with well thought out concepts, and he is also very artistically talented. Congratulations. And we are also calling up, please, Miss Emma Santinian from MCAA. Emma has dedication to learning about her culture. She possesses considerable artistic talent in drawing and painting, and her work will be on display in a giant mural at Ella Elementary. Congratulations, both Joshua and Emma. Is Mr. Reed here? Mr. Reed, I don't believe so. We're going to just move forward now to the last recognition for the evening, and this is our own monthly recognition program for students and staff. This is for all of their contributions to their schools and their communities. Students, please come on down. Evelyn Sanchez Murillo from Adult Education. Julian Wolf from Cedar Lane. Jalen Yang from Cedar Lane. Juan Borja Gonzalez from Ella. Cassidy Zhang from Johnson Park. Julie Zhang from Linda. Maya Barnes from McKinney. And Hannah Millam from McKinney. Congratulations, students. Why don't you all stand right there in the middle so we can take a picture.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Congratulations. And of course, it would not be possible without staff members, so we are recognizing several who are here tonight. Melissa White from Cordova, principal. Roslyn Cowan from Foothill. Christine Simonoff from Johnson Park. Lupit Sahota Gill from Johnson Park. I hope I said that correctly. Laura Lowry from Kynoch. Alexandra Romero from Marysville High School. And our very own, you'll see her right now, Tori Vallejos from the STARS program. Tori is an in-house graphic designer in a lot of the programs, and what you see displayed on the PowerPoint and the slides, all is her work. Congratulations, Ms. Vallejos. Smile. Congratulations, everybody.
Now we're moving on. We have comments from the high schools. Marysville High School. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Maya Spallino. I am the ASB Vice President here at Marysville High School, and I'm here to update you on all the exciting events that have been happening at MHS. So over the past few weeks, we've hosted events such as Club Rush, which we saw lots of participation in. Students were able to join all kinds of clubs ranging from Science Olympiad to GSA. We were also very happy to host our third annual College and Career Fair on September 28th. The Army National Guard, Yuba College, and other trade schools could be found on 18th Street and were available for students to ask questions and learn more about any programs they offer. In the past few weeks, ASB leadership also announced our homecoming theme, which is Once Upon a Homecoming. Speaking of homecoming, we kicked off this week with our homecoming dance, decorated to look like Cinderella's ball. So students were very excited to attend and dress their best for the occasion. Also, this week, we have dress-up days every day in accordance with our Disney homecoming theme. Yesterday was Marvel Monday, where students were encouraged to dress up as their favorite Marvel character. Today was Monsters, Inc. Day, where students were dressed up as in their college gear or in frat clothes. Tomorrow will be Western Wednesday, where students will dress up in their best cowboy outfits. And Thursday, Spirit Day, is going to be called Beast Mode, where students can dress in their workout gear. Friday will end this week off with the Sleeping Beauty Pajama Day. More events happening this week in accordance with homecoming are our homecoming parade Friday at lunch and our football game and senior royalty coronation also happening Friday. Another fun event that we've had on campus is the start of our student council meetings. In our most recent meeting, student council voted on 2 staff members to recognize for the months of September and October. These 2 amazing staff members carry a great impact on our school and always strive to create positive change in the everyday lives of our students. They will be recognized at our next staff meeting with a special certificate as well as the support from student council members presenting it to them. In the next few weeks, we will have our annual Hall of Fame dinner on Saturday, October 14th to honor our amazing alumni. We will also have an MHS Site Council meeting, which is going to be taking place tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. The FFA Haunted Barn is going to be October 15th, and I would like to end today's speech with some recognition for our October Students of the Month. I would like to congratulate Bailey Dakin, Mauricio Sandino, Vincent Vega, Katie Palo, Casimiro Sanchez, Annalyn Ballister, Anayeli Arreola, and Maya Spallino. Thank you so much for your time. I hope to see you at some of our upcoming events, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you. Lyndhurst High School. Please state your name.
Good evening, board member, Superintendent Dr. Falazrani, and everyone here today. My name is Diana Ortega Moreno, and I'm the Lyndhurst ASB president for the 2023 to 2024 school year. To start off, I have a short recap of September. ASB hosted our 2023 homecoming rally and dance, which was very successful, and with the theme of Dance the Night Away, inspired by Barbie. Now moving on to our amazing clubs, the Lyndhurst mock trial team has started gathering evidence, writing and preparing materials for their new mock trial case. Team members are looking forward to an exciting year of competition. The Lyndhurst Mental Health Club is excited about participating in the Fall Festival and spreading mental awareness. Talking about the Fall Festival, our Interact Club will be hosting, along with ASB, their yearly Fall Festival, October 27th from 4:30 to 9:30 p.m., which includes club booths, their haunted house, which is themed The Conjuring, food, and more. This is an open community event, so please feel free to attend at only $10 per ticket sold in the student store or at the day of in the quad. Our LHS Wind Ensemble and Symphonic Band will be giving a concert in honor of International Mental Health Awareness on Thursday, October 12th at 6 p.m. in the Lyndhurst Gym. the LHS Choir will be having a fall festival with the Yuba Gardens Choir on October 26th at 6 p.m. at Yuba Gardens. Finally, the LHS Marching Band will be performing an exhibition at the Oakmont High School Field Show competition, in addition to sharing in the field with MCAA and MHS for a performance. Lyndhurst is very proud of the accomplishments of our outstanding young performers as they continue to own their skills. It's looking like the best year for LHS music. Now, moving on to FFA. FFA has been hosting activities during lunch time for members to meet new people and learn about the opportunities that FFA offers. The officer team recently attended the Superior Region FFA Chapter Officer Leadership Conference. The officers attended leadership development workshops and met with other student leaders from Northern California. Following that, 17 freshman students attended the California FFA Green Hand Leadership Conference, where they explored personal interests and characteristics, engaging conversations about building self-confidence, as well as learning the positive use of social media. Lyndhurst FFA is looking forward to planning the LHS FFA Pumpkin Patch for elementary school students already with over 600 students registered from MJUC elementary schools. On November 2nd, they will be hosting an informational meeting for students and their families who are interested in attending the 2023 California FFA State Leadership Conference, or for students who are interested in raising livestock project for the 2024 Yuba-Sutter Fair. Now, because of Halloween season, leadership will be promoting a Spirit Week from October 24th through October 27th. The days goes as follows. Tuesday is dressed as a pumpkin day. Wednesday is pink day. Thursday is fall fit day, and Friday is dress as your favorite Halloween character. October 30th, there will be a pumpkin contest against staff during lunch. And on October 31st, during lunch, we'll be hosting our annual Halloween costume contest. In honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, leadership is encouraging students to wear pink on all the Wednesdays of this month, as well as purchase our blazer fanny packs in the student store. LHS is hosting an MJUC Parent Summit Saturday, October 28th from 7:30 to 3 p.m. Parents will be informed about activities and classes their students can be involved in at LHS, so please make sure to come visit. Finally, with our football season coming to an end, our last home football game will be this Thursday against Riverbank, JV at 5 and varsity at 7. Our theme is Pink Out, and it is also our senior night. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. MCAA. North and South Lyndhurst High School. Now we have the section for the opportunity for employee organizations to address the board. Marysville Unified Teachers Association.
Good evening, Mr. Davis, rest of the board, those of us here with us this evening, and everybody tuning in from home or cars or anywhere else they can, thanks to the wonders of technology. First off, I'm Angela Stiegel. I'm still the president of the Marysville Unified Teachers Association. I would like to offer congratulations to all of the people that received recognition, received awards. It's always a very nice way to start the evening to have the positivity and see that going on and have people recognized, especially our students, but also our employees who sometimes work very thanklessly for long periods of time. So it's nice to see that happen. I would like to say that And I don't want to elaborate a whole lot on it, but it seems like here recently we've hit a bit of a bumpy road in regards to how things are happening between the teachers union and entities within the district, within administration, even its sites. And so I'm hoping that we get that settled and evened out here soon. I did notice in going through the agenda that yet once again, it seems like we are the land of bring on any program, grant, initiative that you can possibly find. So I would like to state that the union right here this evening is asserting its right and putting in its information and document request here verbally. I'll follow it up in writing that the union would like all of the applications for every one of those grants. We would like the award letters, and we would like all of the various plans that go along with all of those. So like I said, I will submit that in writing probably sometime this evening. The most significant issue for this evening, though, for the teachers union and for our students and one of our sibling unions through Yuba County Office of Ed, that most significant issue would be the SPED program transfer. And I just would like to kind of take the board and those here and listening through a bit of a timeline, because I hear a lot about timelines. And so I would like to state that the first mention of anything associated with special ed and Marysville Joint Unified in the Yuba County Office of Ed was August 23rd, 2022, that board meeting. The agenda item was approve the agreement with Yuba County Office of Ed and Marysville Joint Unified SPED program study with Maureen O'Leary Burness. In that item, the Director of Special Education stated that this item was to recommend approval of agreement for the study between Marysville Joint Unified and Yuba County Office of Ed. She further explained that this process, without any explanation or elaboration as to what process that might be, started a couple of superintendents ago. I will say that I've gone through 2.5 years worth of board meeting agendas and minutes and have seen no mention of. I've also gone through 12 years worth of bargaining notes and have seen no mention of such a thing. The study, we were told, was to determine the fiscal impacts of these programs that we share with Yuba County Office of Ed and identify ways to align the services to better serve those students in those programs. So we were going to look at impacts and effects. There was no mention at all of a program transfer, none. As a matter of fact, the entire presentation, agenda item, and the moving and seconding and approving of it took a grand total of 1 minute and 31 seconds. The next time it's mentioned, now keep in mind that's August of 22, the next time this was mentioned was May 9th of 2023. And this was during the SPED department presentation, 26 slides giving us an update on what was going on with special ed at the district. On slides 24 and 25, finally the program transfer was mentioned. That's the first time, the first mention in public to the public of an intention for a program transfer. The study that was referenced was dated December 16th. I'm not quite sure where that study hid for 6 months, but that's the first that people really knew anything about it. That was not an action item, though. It was only an informational item. The next time it comes up is a month later, June 13th. While we are all on summer vacation, just happenstance, I'm sure it's a fluke, it just happens we're all on summer vacation, and suddenly we have an action item for the program transfer request. Interestingly enough, the board tabled that. There was no vote. It was not approved. Then the next mention we have is tonight's board meeting, where we have a presentation, not an action item. We also have a report that was brought up that is actually mentioned in the slides that will be presented tonight. Interestingly enough, though, that report not provided to the public. I have a copy of it because the teachers union had to meet with the district over it. But any of your constituents out there, they don't have it to say anything to you. I believe the parents of the students from the Yuba County Office of Ed program, they don't have it. I could tell you my special education teachers, the only reason they have it now is because I gave it to them. And so the board still has not voted on this. And I really am at a loss as to how it is that the board then and the district can continue to move forward with this. This is the only board meeting we have before the assurances and such are due on November 1st. And so I would just like to bring to the board's attention that you do, in fact, have the ability to withdraw the request. You do. It's one of the things you can do. You can withdraw the request for the SPED program transfer. Instead of just plowing through with this request, I come before you this evening humbly, also forcefully, asking that you withdraw the request. I wish I could explain in 3.5 minutes exactly what some of the issues are in depth. But what I can tell you is that we have a much better chance of moving forward in a collaborative manner between Marysville Joint Unified and MUTA's special education teachers and Yuba County Office of Ed and their teachers. We have a much better chance of that being a successful program than just plowing through and taking it over. We're short special ed teachers in Marysville Joint Unified right now. We can't offer enough, to get people here because they don't exist. It's not because Marysville Joint Unified necessarily is, not a good place to be a SPED teacher. It's because the SPED teachers don't exist. We're not the only district that can't find them. Every district around can't find enough SPED teachers. And so I don't know why, instead of, listening to the parents, instead of listening to the educators, the professional educators, I don't know why that isn't an option. I've been told that, technically the board doesn't have to vote, which I find interesting, and I have talked to 7 other districts today who say that's not exactly correct. Spoke to 4 other SELPAs that say that's not exactly correct. But we have actually an amazing opportunity to allow Yuba County Office of Ed and the parents that have their students, their children in those programs to remain there, and then to allow our teachers and our sites to work collaboratively together on inclusion efforts. That seems to be the only real substantive issue I can find here. I do know that there were mentions of dollars and cents, and I'm not buying that, which I'll address later when this comes up under the agenda item. But right now, there's a lot of frustration and a lot of exasperation and a lot of aggravation and a lot of hurt feelings. And it was really quite unnecessary. It was quite unnecessary. And so right now, as a board, you have an opportunity to actually turn that negative into a positive. And I will grant you the way to do that. Again, like I said, is to just withdraw the request. We are not in a position right now to pull this off. And so instead, we could work together, we could be upfront, we could be honest, we could be transparent, and we could be collaborative between Marysville Joint Unified and Yuba County Office of Ed, instead of conducting a hostile takeover. Thank you.
Thank you. Operating Engineers Local Union number 3. California School Employees Association number 326 and 648. Association of Management and Certified Employees. Supervisory Unit. Now we're going to move to presentations. We are at 10.1, Budget Update from Capital Advisors. Please state your name.
Mr. President, Superintendent, members of the board, Kevin Gordon with Capital Advisors Group. It's good to be with you tonight. So I'm going to go over just a couple of little things timeline-wise for what's gone on with regard to budget and finance issues. The last time we were before the board, we were wrapping up what was the state budget had been passed, implemented, signed by the governor. And at that time, the assumptions that the Assembly, the Senate, and the governor had embraced to pass their budget was noted by the nonpartisan legislative analysts to have an $11 billion hole in it. And at that time, they even said, while that was their estimate of the number, they believed there was a pretty substantial amount of risk that that gap would be bigger as the rest of the fiscal year would unfold, obviously for the year that started July 1. And just a matter of some weeks ago, the legislative analyst ended up revising their report and coming out with an announcement that, in fact, there was an $11 billion problem now in their view, that they had become sort of aligned with where the administration and the legislature had been, so that now the gap was about $1 billion difference of opinion. Now, that in a $250 billion overall budget plan is pretty small. But still, there is that difference of opinion. But they also said that they were revising it because the economic assumptions in the plan that the governor and the legislature put out, conservative by some people's point of view, they thought was bearing out to be more reasonable, because the assumptions they were making were predicated on a look at the economy in the May beforehand. And in the ensuing months, things had changed. And now they've changed even more. So what I'm sort of illustrating here is there's a sense of optimism around the Capitol building, around the ability of revenue figures when they come in to come a lot closer to what the legislature adopted. And that gives us comfort in the education community because, of course, our budgets in school districts are so tied to the health of the general fund of the state of California. But the thing that's really different for people to watch, it's just fundamentally different than prior years, is that we've always been able to know kind of what we're dealing with when we start a fiscal year each July, because we had the tax returns the prior April. Well, we didn't have tax returns this past April. They gave everybody in most of the major counties across the state, but including these counties up here, the ability to file your taxes in October rather than April. And moving that tax filing deadline has meant that the vast majority of taxes that the state's sort of counting on to run the state this year, and all our programs and our public schools, the actual dollar amounts won't be known for sure until after the 15th of October. And then while that gets filed and they sort of count it all up, we're thinking we'll have a pretty good idea around October 23rd what that actually looks like. Now, again, there's a pretty good amount of confidence, and even now that nonpartisan legislative analyst seems to have faith with the estimates that the budget put there. But they also wrote in this report that came out some 5 weeks ago that there was the potential there could be considerable upside that they're not anticipating. They also said there could be considerable downside if the economy were to falter somehow. So they've kind of put themselves in a position to be right no matter what. But I'm sort of taking the optimism and hoping that that actually comes to fruition. So we'll see what happens. The taxes are due on the 15th, which really, because of the day that it falls on, a Sunday, won't be till the 16th. And then in the ensuing week or so, we'll get a really good idea about what kind of revenue actually came in, probably around the 23rd. And then following that, around November 15th, we get a really comprehensive report that's done by, again, the nonpartisan legislative analyst that looks at all the economics and puts down their projections for where we're going to be for the rest of this year and what kind of revenue they think the state will be anticipating for the year ahead. And then the governor will write his budget on January 10th for next year, predicated in large part on some of those assumptions. So that's kind of where we are right now. So the point of it is, the last time we talked, things seemed pretty precarious and really, really uncertain. And I think things are looking a little more certain, a little more stable. That's good. It doesn't mean we should go out and spend a bunch of money. We need to seriously be careful. But I just wanted to let you know, when there is good news, we also like to share that too, because too often when we're coming here, we're telling you about how grim things sometimes are in Sacramento. There are a couple of issues this board has been particularly concerned about that we've had discussions about in the past. One of them has been on special ed funding. And for the sake of sort of the community, we have huge, incredible unfunded mandates from the state and federal government with regard to the obligations we must carry out for kids with disabilities. And I know this board and the district is very committed to making sure that we're giving every educational opportunity to kids with disabilities, but the district needs help in funding it. And so the latest on that is, because the state budget was so tight this last year, there were not the resources to put an increase beyond the cost of living increase, the COLA, into special ed. We didn't get anything more, and we have a couple years in a row, we've gotten some extra help from them. So that didn't happen. And then the federal government, there was legislation that was introduced, bipartisan legislation, that would dramatically change the future of special ed funding by making good on a 10-year sort of phase-in of a commitment that was made all the way back in 1975, which is to provide 40% of the overall cost of special ed programs. I'm not optimistic we're going to see that anytime soon, given the fact that things are so broken in Congress right now. The bill does exist, so it's important for this district, as it has, and you guys have been really vocal about this, in advocating that Congress needs to do something about it, because at some point, we think they will get their act together and they'll be receptive to the message. The other thing is that the co-authors of the bill are Democrats and Republicans. It's just that the current majority in Congress is actually opposing any new spending in a variety of different areas, and in fact wants to see a lot of budget cuts. So we know because of that dynamic, we're not going to probably see this bill get funded. But again, it's important for us to support it and articulate our support for that. The other area that this board has articulated some concerns about is in the area of school transportation and making sure that we're trying to seek full funding or more funding for special ed. There were gains made last year in last year's budget that are really, really important, where we got almost 60% of the costs that we have in special ed. We haven't seen that kind of commitment in a long time. The goal is to have that continue to rise. That's not going to happen until the state's fiscal picture gets better. So there's that issue coupled with legislation the governor just signed last week that mandates that no district will be acquiring buses or purchasing buses after 2035 that are not zero emission buses, all electric buses. And electric buses, we know, are not only expensive, but they aren't real practical with the type of technology that exists today for the sort of the geography of this district. And they need to work harder to get that right, including, as one of the members of this board talked about, there is no connection between that mandate and money to help pay for the buses. It's great for them to want that environmental policy, but two things. The technology actually has to work to get kids out to whatever that distance is and actually back without having to get charged. And then they need to help us pay for the buses. Otherwise, that policy, as well-intentioned as it is, doesn't work. So we're going to be working on that issue as well. So that's just a little summary of a snapshot of what's going on at the Capitol. The governor's got a bunch of bills on his desk last week, this week, and he'll finish that up on the 15th. And then we're going to get a report, a written report to the district that outlines everything that you are going to be responsible for implementing in the district. By January 1, there's a couple of bills that'll take effect immediately. We'll flag those for you so you kind of know what's coming at the district as far as new laws and obligations. Any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions? No, I think you've covered it quite well.
Great.
And you've served this district very well. And so we really appreciate your advice and your insights. So thank you again.
It's a pleasure to be with all of you. And as you guys know, anytime you need us to come and provide an update, you know, we're not that far away. So we'll be here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Now we're at 10.2, new teacher support structures.
Oh, there we go. Good evening, trustees, Dr. Azrani, community. Gabe Simon, Assistant Superintendent of Personnel. We're going to play our presentation and then have our new teacher support team come up and introduce themselves. Thank you.
No, not your video. Not your video. Just one.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. Azrani, members of the cabinet, and MJUSD community. My name is Gabe Simon, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Personnel Services. Tonight, I will be presenting about teacher support structures in our district this year. The support would not be possible without the dedication of Heather Baker, Jennifer Campbell, and Carrie Eilst, whose support areas will be featured in this presentation. A primary goal of our levels of teacher support is to increase teacher retention. This aligns with the district's strategic plan for focus area number 3. Last year, we increased the teacher retention rate, and many of our new teachers returned to our district in the classroom for this school year. Our goal is to continue to increase teacher retention by adding targeted supports to teachers in years 1 through 5 of their careers in MJUSD. Tonight, I will start with an overview of supports for teachers who have not entered or just entered a credential program, along with assistance for teachers in the 1st through 5th years of their teaching adventures. Supports are in place for educators who have not earned their preliminary credential. The Teacher Pathways program provides targeted feedback for those on provisional internship permits, PIPs, short-term staff permits, STSPs, and interns. We have also included mentoring for long-term substitutes. Mentors receive training through UMass Global and a stipend for their commitment to our new teachers. Retired administrators and teachers also guide our Teacher Pathways program. Teacher Pathways provides support modules and site and district-based mentors linked to the California standards for the teaching profession. Administrator Carrie Ilst is the Pathways support provider for this program. Our teacher residency program is a partnership with UMass Global that has created a pipeline of special education and single subject teachers into our district. This $650,000 grant was successfully written to ensure that we have teachers available in our hard-to-fill teaching vacancies. This quote by Julia Hansen reminds us how important it is to develop our educators. Schools can't become the best places to learn and grow unless we make them the best places for teachers to learn and grow. We will now move into structures for teachers in years 1 and 2 of their credentialed teaching careers. All teacher supports will continue to be collaboratively developed with teachers and administrators in our district. Jennifer Campbell and Heather Baker are current MJUSD educators who have committed time and energy for our teacher induction program. In Tri-County induction, over 44 MJUSD teachers participated last year. Candidates observe colleagues and are given opportunities for collaboration and professional learning. Teachers are provided with observations and supportive feedback multiple times during the year. Mentors and facilitators work together to set and achieve data-driven goals, which are linked to the California standards for the teaching profession. Mentors are trained on effective feedback and how to maximize instructional improvements during coaching cycles. Supports for teachers in years 1 and 2 will include on-the-fly professional development, check-ins and socials, and the empowerment of veteran teachers to complete site-based trainings. Structures for teachers in years 3 through 5 focus on educators honing their craft, getting outside their classroom walls, and understanding where to go for classroom resources. These teachers need time to observe other teachers, debrief lessons and lesson planning, and need time to observe in classrooms outside of their subject area or grade level. Moving forward, our new Teacher Support Committee will continue to meet to adapt supports to classroom needs. We are working on establishing a new Administrator Academy and cohort and will continue to collaborate on resources. At this time, I would like to conclude and introduce some of our staff who champion teachers in their classrooms and beyond. We are glad to answer questions and thank the board, superintendent, and district staff for their support. Take it out. Maybe not. Maybe we won't take it out. I think it's glued in here. We'll let them introduce themselves. Who you are, what you do first.
I'm Jennifer Campbell, and I teach 8th grade English at McKinney, and I'm their activities director.
I'm Heather Baker. I'm over at Kynock Elementary. I am a mentor and facilitator for TSIP.
Good evening. I'm Carrie Ilst, and I'm happy to be back this year supporting our pre-induction teachers and helping with their retention and their work towards their credentials so that they return next year. So thank you for the opportunity.
And we also have a few other administrators and teachers who can be here that support our over 45 teachers who are on emergency permits in our Pathways program. So we'll entertain any questions you have.
Are there any questions for Dr. Simon?
Well, I've got more just of a comment. I think you've got a dynamite team there, and I've had the honor and pleasure of working with Ms. Campbell during my TSIP program, and yeah, you guys are going to do great things. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for all you do. Thank you. Now we have the 10.3 presentation of Marysville High School site plan for the 2023-24 school year. Please state your name.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Vujevich, and I'm the proud principal of Marysville High School. And here's what we've prepared for you. Thank you.
Board of Trustees, Dr. Azrani, Executive Cabinet, and members of the audience. We are Marysville High School.
We are respectful, we are responsible, we are healthy, we are engaged.
It is our strong belief as a leadership team that student voice brings student engagement.
Our unique MHS population includes 1,091 students and over 90 staff members. Our students travel from just around the corner from campus or ride the bus over 40 miles each way. To meet the needs of all students, we focus on college and career readiness, offering A through G classes, honors, AP, and early college courses. Additionally, we have 15 CTE pathways for students to explore future career opportunities.
As with all SIPSs, our goal is to ensure that all children receive fair, equitable, and high-quality education that close educational achievement and provide opportunity. We meet with our educational partners regularly to create a well-rounded educational experience to allow all students to be college and career ready to be contributors to our 21st century community, both locally and globally.
In order to get a well-rounded assessment of needs, we examine data from multiple sources, including state and benchmark testing data, PBIS data that includes attendance and behavior data, and school-wide surveys.
Of the 176 11th grade students tested in spring 2023, 40% met or exceeded standards. Looking at our significant subgroups of our 104 economically disadvantaged youth, 36% met or exceeded ELA standards. Areas of growth include additional supports and interventions to help students read at or above grade level.
Of the 176 11th grade students that tested in math in the spring of 2023, only 14% met or exceeded standards on the CASP, and 104 EDY students met or exceeded math standards in the spring of 2023. Studying our fall 2023 STAR results shows improvement on how those now 12th graders are now at or above standards. A higher percentage of present 11th graders who also take the CASP this spring in 2024, but an intense focus on the 9th and 10th graders that are currently in IM1 and IM2 shows we have work to do.
ARIES data is regularly reviewed at MHS to allow for targeted goal setting. Our data includes both areas of need and areas that can be celebrated. One celebration includes cell phone use being reduced during class times, but more support is needed to reduce cell phone violations and increase daily attendance. Tier 1 interventions and engagement strategies are needed to assist with classroom management and to reduce cuts and tardies.
The 6 MJUSD LCAP goals listed here were the driving force in creating our SIPSA goals, which will be discussed on the following slides.
SIPSA Goal 1 is the same as the district's LCAP Goal 1, with emphasis from findings in the WASC self-study in the fall of 2021 to add a site goal to increase academic rigor and instruction across the school's curriculum. Expected outcomes include a 10% increase in ELA and math CASP scores, increase the CCI by 10%, continuing increasing the number of students taking AP courses and passing with a 3 or higher, and increase special education performance on both the CASP and CAST.
For Goal 2, we are enhancing positive school culture, safety, and student engagement at Marysville High School. Positive school culture is apparent when students are present and engaged in classes and extracurricular activities. We encourage these things through our Link Crew activities, ASB leadership, student body meetings, dances, rallies, and spirit days. Our WASC goal is to develop and utilize intervention and enrichment programs and processes that support the whole student, are timely, and are based on data. Strategies include funding our PASS officer, partial funding of our second assistant principal who works with at-risk students, and our PBIS and link crew activities.
MHS and LCAP goal number 3. For our WASC goal, administration and staff through department leadership, collaboration days, and staff meetings are recreating a systematic plan to facilitate all students to develop a college and career going culture. Starting with this year's 9th graders and some targeted 10th through 12th graders, a 10-year plan for post-secondary choices to facilitate college choice and student choice and supports as they transition from high school to college, career, and life. As a staff, we feel that there is a need for continual improvement in ensuring students are prepared with creative and critical thinking goals, communication skills, and other 21st century skills and global competencies. Another recommendation from the WASC visit included a new schedule of the school day that could support intervention and enrichment times during the school day and the addition of AVID courses.
Goal 4 is geared towards building a system of specific support for EL, foster, and low SES students. We will address this need through professional development for teachers, and we will collaborate around best practices in education in the areas of literacy, strategic math, strategic ELA, and Common Core content areas with intent and purpose.
Home and school partnerships are embedded in what we do. Again, we are doing this with intent and together. Because there is such a high need to focus on college and career readiness, we created a 5th goal to increase the number of Marysville High School students identified as college and career ready as measured by the dashboard. The CCI on the dashboard allows students the opportunity to demonstrate their readiness in a variety of pathways.
Goal number 6 is new to MHS, and expected outcomes include increased performance on assessments and increased student engagement as evidenced by Aries attendance data and a reduction in suspension by using alternative consequences when appropriate.
The MHS funding allocations with carryover for the 2023-24 school year are as noted. The new gymnasium floor was recently completed, allowing a learning space for PE classes, sports teams to practice and compete on, and large assemblies and rallies to take place. Please come take a peek. We are building leaders and learners from within to go out and innovate, serve, and bring positive change to our community and beyond.
We are Marysville High School.
Thank you. And I would like to acknowledge the 2 assistant principals whose voices you heard, Mrs. Alicia Wright and Mr. Robert Richardson, who could not be here tonight, but put a lot of work into this with our staff. And Alicia does her wonderful stuff with both audio and visual as well. So thank you. Any questions?
Are there any questions from the board? Well,
Thank you.
I certainly hope that all that you've put into your plan shows results, and that the rubber meets the road.
Absolutely.
And we're certainly hoping that at least the outline that you provided is adopted by all of your teachers and all of your staff. Because looking at your numbers, it's absolutely imperative that we see improvement there.
It's dire.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have 10.4, presentation of the Marysville Charter Academy for the Arts School Plan for the 2023-24 school year.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I guess we're going to enjoy this slideshow now, so let's watch this one. I'll just sit down. Good evening, Dr. Asrani, members of the school board, and members of cabinet. My name is Eric Preston, and I am the proud principal of Marysville Charter Academy for the Arts. Our school is different than any other school in the district in that we are a charter school. And as a dependent charter, we have to come up with our own LCAP. So we feather our SIPSA and our WASC action items into our LCAP and make it one unified document. We are at a current high enrollment of 375. It's been a while since we've been that large, and so we're excited about the growth. We have other reasons to be excited, such as the fact that we received a 6-year WASC accreditation last school year, and this year in the fall, we were again named the #1 high school in the greater Yuba-Sutter area by U.S. News and World Report. Here's a photo of our advanced dancers performing some choreography at the dance studio ribbon cutting. And the next several slides will discuss some of our data as far as CAS, BLA, math, science scores, and then attendance and discipline. Some more candid photos of goings on at our school. For English language arts, we grew at each level, 7th, 8th, and 11th grade by 10%. That's a huge celebration. Our targeted need or area of growth, we'd like to try to get closer or cross over 70% threshold for met or exceeded in all 3 of those grade levels tested. More candids of our students and happenings at school. For mathematics and CAS, we only grew by 1% in 7th grade, decreased by 4% in 8th grade, and increased by 10% in 11th grade. Obviously, the 10% increase is great, but we need to look really closely at 7th and 8th grade and work on filling some gaps in the lower levels. For science, we grew in both 11th and 8th grade results. We grew by 5% in 8th grade and 4% in 11th grade. We would like to get closer to the 50% threshold in 8th grade and actually cross over it in 11th grade. More pictures of our students, but we'd like to highlight the Exploratory Arts Wheel. It's a new course this year for 7th graders, which allows them to explore all of the arts offerings that we have through this one elective. Attendance and discipline. From the first 20 days of school, we have noticed a dip over the last several years in our percentage. However, we are still maintaining above the 95% goal, and we have not had any suspensions in the last 2 years during the first 20 days of school. And the last thing we'd like to celebrate is the fact that our percentage of chronically absent students has been cut nearly in half in the last 2 years. On to our LCAP Goal 1. These are all of the actions that we are instituting or implementing to provide learning opportunities that result in increased academic achievement for our students. And this is how we will measure whether or not we have success from those actions. More candidates from goings on at school the first couple weeks. LCAP Goal 2, these are our actions for continuing to support the visual and performing arts. And these are our success criteria, or how we will measure whether or not those actions are working. Some more candidates. I'd like to draw your attention to the picture in the upper right-hand corner, which is our physics, one of our physics classes, actually conducting an experiment in our quad. They're out there quite often, and I love the fact that they're milling about using the outdoors for experiments. LCAP Goal 3 is to support our students' health and well-being, and you will see these are the actions we're implementing. And these, again, are the success criteria for how we will measure whether or not those are working. Some more candidates. I'd like to draw your attention to the picture on the right, which is, it just looks like a mess, but that was the first day of our club week, where students can sign up for clubs and activities on campus, and it was incredibly well attended this year. Our budget summary. This shows our funding sources as reflected in our LCAP. We get $3.95 million from LCFF, $70,000 from other state funds, $79,000 from federal funds, $12,000 from other local funds. And of the LCSFF money, $413,000 is generated by foster youth, English learners, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students. So there is a total of $4,113,966 in our LCAP for the 23-24 school year. Some more pictures of happenings in classes and at lunchtime activities. Thank you for viewing and listening to our 23-24 board presentation. We would love to see any and all of you at any of these activities. We have a Halloween concert October 22nd hosted here at MCAA. We will be presenting Much Ado About Nothing from the Advanced Drama class November 9th through 11th at the Sutter Theater in Yuba City. We have Music Week held in the MHS South Auditorium November 28th through December 1st. And that is a breakdown of which courses or which music specialties will present on which times, which days. Thank you, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Preston. It's absolutely impressive. And to me, it's a challenge to the rest of our campuses. Not only have you put in criteria for goals you want to meet, but you also monitor the progress. And that's a different kind of thing. And I just hope that a lot of our other campuses take note of that, because it's a constant improvement that you're looking for. There's no silver bullet. And waiting to the end of the year to say, oh gosh, well, I guess we should have done something else, doesn't help that student very much. So I'm just absolutely thrilled with how you have adopted that school after so many years of not being there. And I can just tell the enthusiasm that you're happy to be home.
Thank you. I do want to recognize all of the hard work that was put in by the principals before me and the staff. I have worked at 3 different sites in our district, and it's not every site is unique, and I've loved every one of them, but there's something special here. So it's a lot to be said about the people there. I'm brand new and just coming in, so I would love to take some of your credit, but I can't.
Well, it's also your staff. Are there any other questions from Mr. Preston? Well, thank you again, and thank you for your staff.
Thank you.
Now we're at 10.5, presentation of the Yuba Gardens Intermediate School site plan for the 2023-24 school year.
I'm Jim Hayes, and roll it. Good evening, Dr. Israni and members of the board. My name is Jim Hayes, and I'm the very proud principal at Yuba Gardens Intermediate. This is my 5th year as the principal at YG, and there is nowhere else I would rather be than serving this school community. This slide gives you a snapshot of our school. We have 741 students. Our special populations are as follows. And something we are very proud of is we have 222 students enrolled in honors classes or our accelerated math courses, which are designed to prepare kids for the rigor of high school AP courses. YG SIPSA ensures that all students have an opportunity to receive a fair and equitable high-quality education. Our SIPSA is developed with input from stakeholders and is directly aligned to the district LCAP. Our school data sources are aligned with our LCAP indicators, and 3 separate areas will be highlighted in the upcoming slides. Our academic indicators are our CASP scores in ELA and math, and our universal screeners in STAR reading and STAR math. Another area that is highlighted in our school data is around the school environment. And finally, our last indicators show how we are doing on the 8th grade science test, as well as our English learner program. On this slide, you will find our preliminary CASP results in ELA. An analysis of this data shows that our 7th graders improved by 2%, and our STAR reading scores improved 4% from the end of last year to the beginning of this year. Our STAR scores closely mirror the district averages as well. This slide shows our preliminary CASP math data. On here, you can see that our scores have remained stagnant, but there are a significant number of students who are very close to moving up a level. For our STAR math scores, our 7th graders increased 7% last year over the course of the year and 6% overall. This slide shows our science data as well as our LPAC data. Our science scores have remained close to the same, while our LPAC scores show that students are progressing, and the 8th grade cohort last year increased 6% overall. Our second area of focus is our school environment. This slide shows our total suspensions as of September 25th compared to the same time frame last school year. The analysis shows a 65% decrease in the total suspensions this year compared to last year at this time. Of note, you can see that we've also had a 58% decrease in physical altercations as well. This slide shows our chronic absenteeism rate for the last 2 years. We've seen a 7% decrease in the total absenteeism rate, and we are off to a good start as our ADA is 2.5% higher this year than last year over the first 20 days of school. As stated earlier, YG has created a SIPSA that aligns to the LCAP goals for MJUSD. The next slides identify the actions and criteria we will utilize to improve student outcomes. Our first SIPSA goal addresses academic performance. The activities in this goal are we use a program called FlexiSchedule, which allows teachers to pull kids during our tutorial time to give much needed intervention during the school day. We also provide collaboration hours to our teachers outside the school day so they can work together to better target student success. The success criteria will be below at the end of each slide as well. Our second goal is built around the climate and safety of our students. We use a PBIS reward system to award students points when they are exhibiting pride. We have running Tier 1 and Tier 2 teams to make sure we're implementing PBIS with fidelity and also working to support our struggling students. We now implement Smart Pass on campus, so we always know which students are using the restroom. This has proved very helpful as the adults on campus now know which students are out of class and for how long. This slide has our PBIS slogan. We want all students to show pride on campus. When we catch them doing these things, we reward them with points that translate to prizes in our PBIS online store. This year, our school was awarded a bronze for PBIS implementation, and our goal is to become gold next year. Goal 3 is to prepare every student with college and career readiness. To that end, we are implementing AVID. We have 7 honors courses or accelerated courses on campus to push students academically. We also have a career fair in the spring, and we have developed a speaker series where professionals from different fields come in and share their journey and experience with our kids. Our fourth goal is about building supports for our English learners and our most at-risk students. Listed here is how we are supporting these groups, as well as our criteria to see if we're being effective. Our fifth goal focuses on homeschool communication. Last year, we created Facebook and Instagram pages and have been working hard to boost our social media presence within the community. Our sixth and final goal is improving access and inclusion opportunities for our special education students. This year, I'm proud to say that we have increased the number of co-taught classes by a total of 5. We will continue to look at ways to support our students in the general education setting with their typically developing peers as we move forward. Our total budget for the school year is as follows on this slide. Our school site council will continue to look at targeted and Title I allocations throughout the year and determine how best to support all of our students. A few things of note that I wanted to bring to your attention is we now have a Warrior Wellness Center on campus. This is in partnership with YCOE, and we are working now on staffing the center with a prevention specialist and a social worker full-time. This hub will be the epicenter for all things related to student and family support and will be a game changer for our community. Another program to mention is our music program. The music room got a major facelift over the summer, and we are excited to continue to see this program grow as they have already won many prestigious awards, including a silver rating last year at the Forum Music Festival, which puts them in the top 20% of all bands in the United States. And finally, none of these things are achievable without a dedicated and conscientious staff. I'm extremely lucky to be working alongside all of the staff members in this building. So I want to give a huge shout out to all of them for their tireless work for our kids and community. Thank you for your time this evening. And remember, it's a great day to be a warrior.
Are there any questions for Mr. Hayes? Well, all I can tell you is you're doing great work. And I know it takes a team. But your leadership has been phenomenal. And to see your discipline issues getting resolved before they become a real issue is a huge compliment to your leadership. So thank you and your staff for all you do.
Well, thank you. But I think it's just having the right people in the right place on the bus. And so, I'm very grateful to work with the people that I do. But thank you. I will pass it along to them for sure.
Thank you. Now we're at 10.6, presentation for the Education Services Data Dashboard for the 2023-24 school year.
Thank you. I just want to highlight each of those high school or the school presentations all went below time, so I might want to capture a few of their minutes. Just kidding. I'm joined up here by two directors in my division who work most closely with the data. So tonight's presentation is a little bit about the framework which is guiding our work. You have already seen evidence of this framework applied with the school SIPSs that have come forward. For example, Mr. Davis, you've already mentioned it several times about the success criteria. So really excited about just bringing this to you. And they're going to help me try to stay on time. Jay Trujillo, Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. I want to begin by highlighting, as I just mentioned, the data framework. The data framework, you might think of it as our North Star to help frame and guide all of our key actions, the decisions, analyses, monitoring, etc. And what you see depicted here on the slide in front of you are those key elements. Data mining, the types of data that we collect, the analysis that occurs, the key actions that coincide with that analysis, and then the monitoring of whether or not those key actions or strategies are being impactful or showing the success that we expect. So the first part I just want to highlight a little bit is just the why behind the data framework. Essentially, we want to ensure that all of our students are graduating college and career ready, and this means that they're attaining grade level proficiency in the standards. This means that they are graduating. This means that they're successful for transitioning from one level to the other. This is really the essence behind the data framework and this idea of being data-driven. We also want to identify strengths. We've seen several of those already depicted tonight. So what are the reasons behind those strengths? What is causing schools to be successful or grade levels to be successful? We want to identify these pockets of excellence so that we can replicate. So it's very intentional about identifying strengths. Obviously, we want to identify growth opportunities, and then we want to prioritize and narrow the focus in this idea of having targeted priorities. All of this together then will add up to progress, and this is the essence of our data framework and the idea of being data-driven in educational services and throughout MJUSD. A common pitfall, so we call data-driven decision-making 3DM for short. 3D's data-driven decision, and M is for making. So if you hear me say that, that's what 3DM stands for. But a common pitfall for effective data use is having too much data, collecting it, and not really having a purpose of the collection behind that data, or having analysis behind that collection of that data. So we were very thoughtful and intentional about identifying what we think are the data sets that will help drive our actions and ultimately help us to achieve our why. We want this data to be actionable. We want it to be relevant, so that as we're collecting the right stuff, and we want it to be those indicators that we would call leading indicators, which then promote student proficiency in our standards and ultimately college and career readiness. The next step in the process is data analysis. It's simply here where we try to diagnose precisely the root causes behind that data, because the more effective we are at diagnosing the root causes, the more effective we can then become in identifying appropriate strategies or actions. It's then this analysis, so analyze to prioritize. So the whole idea is to identify trends, targets, and then to be very thoughtful about the strategies that follow. So the more successful we are in the analysis, then the more effective we can be in the deployment of our key actions. I want to take a moment just to highlight some of the types of data that we're collecting, and what you'll see here are 4 specific slides. I'm not going to get deeply into the analysis of the data here just for the sake of time, but I do want to inform you that at the end I'll be sort of identifying a summary of the key celebrations around these data charts, as well as the strengths or the targeted actions. So for example, in TK3, and I just want to highlight that the way we are collecting the data and depicting it for you coincide to the way that we have also designed the graduate profile. So for TK3, the theme there is building blocks to literacy. So some of the data that you see depicted there that we're collecting and analyzing and strategizing around are STAR Renaissance, and specifically ELA and mathematics performance. In the beginning of the year, that's what BOY stands for, and in the end of year assessments, that's what EOI stand for. And you might notice that there are 4 performance levels. So for students who are at proficiency, at grade level, that is at or above. Just below that, you will see a designation for students who are close but not there yet. That's at watch. And then you see an intervention group. And then at the very lowest level, that's the urgent intervention. You will also see information there about minutes read, because we recognize that research shows that students who spend more time reading are then going to be those more likely to acquire reading skills and to apply those reading skills in successful ways. We also are collecting information about our after-school program enrollment, because that's extended learning, and part of that program is all about tutoring and preparing students further beyond what happens in the classroom 8 to 3. We are also collecting data around reclassification for our English language learners, and you also see there depicted on the slide some of those key features of this framework. So what are the strengths? What are our targeted areas of priorities? And then what are some of those celebrations? What you see here is just an example of how we then work with schools to go deeper into the analysis of this data. So this is just one example. So what you see listed here is the performance of our TK3 literacy grade levels over three assessment periods. The BOY in 2022-23, the OI, or the end of year, and then the beginning this year. So with data such as this, we can identify patterns. So for example, should you take a look carefully at this slide, you will see that students who at the end of last year scored at the level they did at grade level, that the beginning of the year assessment that we administered this year, that we saw a reduction in their performance. So we call that reduction oftentimes referred to as the summer slide. So this then gives us data upon which we can then dig deeper into and then come up with strategic actions to be responsive. Here's 4th grade. It's a mirror image of what you saw at TK3. There's no differences here in the data that you see depicted. Here's 6.8. So you do see some differences in the data that we are collecting, and those differences are, you see the red border around it. So for example, we are collecting honors enrollment. And one of the things we're really proud here is to see the 462% increase in students enrolled in the honors program. You also see that we're collecting avid enrollment, and we're also collecting ELOP enrollment. In grades 9 through 12, you'll see the data that's new, that's different, is on the red borders again. That's all about math placement, and that's also the number of students or the percentage of students in our avid honors and our college courses. So if you were to take those three or those 4 grade spans overall, what you see depicted here are district-wide celebrations. For example, at TK4, we're seeing a lot of increases in celebrations with respect to our after-school learning. In grades 4 and 5, we're seeing some slight decreases in the students needing urgent intervention. And again, increases in students participating in our after-school program. In grades 6 through 8, we're seeing increases in our honors and our AVID program. With respect to targeted needs, we're seeing across the district, Mr. Davis, I heard you say it earlier, right? There's just no getting away from the fact that we need to see increased levels of learning of standards in ELA and mathematics across all of our grade levels and nearly every school. We also see the need to decrease the students requiring urgent intervention and intervention across all of our grade levels. And of course, we see the need to continue to focus on our special populations, in this case, our ELLs, and in particular, our long-term English language learners, which is what we mean by LTELs. So, again, we will be applying our data framework, and these are some of the key actions that we are employing. So it's about being very intentional with our principals and our data meetings. It's about fidelity of implementation with our literacy plan. It's about targeted professional development, and it's about ELL systems of support. Those are some of the things that we are focusing on. We are also being very intentional with the use of our district assessments, in this particular case, common formative assessments, because those are the ones that apply across multiple grade levels and subject areas. As I mentioned, we are also highlighting our efforts to increase our honors program enrollment of students, and then, of course, expanding our funding and our CTE pathways and partnerships. Just want to take a moment to highlight the key activities happening in TK3 literacy, because we feel that is a model for program planning for each of the remaining grade spans around our graduate profile. So you've heard us talk a lot about TK3 literacy over the months, and these are some of the major actions that we are undertaking and want to continue and use it as a model for others. Around all of those key actions that are occurring, we too have identified the success criteria, which will help us to determine whether or not we're making satisfactory progress. And you'll see those listed there. I won't mention them. That, again, very intentional. They correspond very closely to the actions that have been identified. And finally, just want to bring it back to the graduate profile. All of our actions and all of our progress indicators that you've seen highlighted in this short presentation coincide with the graduate profile, which is all about ensuring that students acquire the competencies academically for college and career readiness. And I just wanted to share that. And finally, just end by saying that without continued growth and progress, such words as improvement and achievement and success have no meaning, and that comes from none other than Benjamin Franklin. With that, I'll stop and take any questions, should there be any.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
I do have a couple questions. Can you go back to the sample slide?
Page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Page 7, I think, which contains the beginning of year assessments for the STAR.
This one?
Yeah, that one. Am I reading the chart correctly? That, for example, the first set of bars, those at above benchmark second grade, at the beginning of the year they were 27.9% at or above, and then 42 went into that category, and then when they took the summer break, came back, it was the same set of students. It ended up being only 28.5. Is that correct? Did I interpret that graph correctly?
Yeah, I believe that you'll see they took it in second grade, and then as third graders, it's the 30.6. Am I correct there? Yeah, it's the 30.6. So there was a slight decline from second grade from 42.4 to 30.6.
Say that again?
Actually, the yellow.
No, the first bar. If you look at that first bar, if I'm interpreting that correctly, the slide, effectively all the learning gains within that year was lost during the summer, if I interpret that correctly. And that also explains why the second bar is so high, 38, but then it went to 28 because that group moved over. Because when I sum them all up, they should end up being 100%. So if I interpret this correctly, for that at or above group, basically everybody that did actually improve slid back to where they were at.
Yeah, that is correct, Dr. Yang. One of the things that we wonder about, and we've asked ourselves the same question in Ed Services, is whether or not some of that slip has to do with the summer slides, such as what I talked about, or might it also be a factor with respect to when the students are immediately taking the test? So they take it very likely that first week of school, and whether or not students are already in that school mind or that school reference, I mean, that might be a factor that comes into play. But essentially, you are correct in that we do see a summer slide and almost back to where it started or lower. That's correct. Sure.
Okay. And one of the things with the data last year, there was a note on one of the slides that last year we tested all of our students, but we didn't get them tested all within the window. So we need to look at that too. Another thing with second grade scores, and this is just a little bit for your understanding, students in kindergarten, first and second grade take the early literacy test until they score as a probable reader. So it is possible that some of these students took the early literacy test and didn't score a probable reader, even if they were a reader last spring. And so it's just a little bit, second grade is a little bit, we probably should have chosen a different slide for the sample. But second grade, they could have taken one test, they could have taken two different tests, the early literacy and the STAR, and this one only represents the STAR reading.
There's a secondary follow-up question on that, and it relates to all of the presentations that was just presented, which is that in LCAP, most of the LCAP plan is in category, the first one, which notes that we want a 5-point improvement. So the slide is concerning for me because we do meet that LCAP goal, right? Because at the beginning, they're 27.9, and at the end of the year, it's 42.0. And then the problem is that when we start the following year, they drop back. So effectively, if we only measure that the beginning and the end of the year, we absolutely meet the LCAP plan. But if we continue and we walk a little bit further to the next start of the year, we don't actually meet the LCAP plan. And that's disconcerting for me because I'm looking at all of these graphs, and a lot of them are looking at what we're doing is I don't want us to be pushing kids to pass the test, but none of the learning solidifies. And that's what's concerning for me about this slide.
Yeah, Dr. Yang, it's also concerning for us. And so some of the targeted actions that we're taking to address that summer slide are to, number one, it's to really be more thoughtful in the types of supports that we're building into our after-school learning program and targeting reading and math in particular and tutoring. We are also, this year we hired and we're more thoughtfully are implementing our instructional coaching program, which is asking our coaches to dig deeper into this data and then to work with the school sites and grade levels to be more thoughtful in how we go about addressing student identified needs. So it's our instructional coaching program, and it's also those data meeting with our principals that we've talked about. So we see it as well. We're bringing the same information or the attention to the principals so that we are all working in concert to address the needs and to not lose that growth. Because as you mentioned, if they have it for a year, but it's just more about passing the test and it's not really learning that has solidified, then we are not essentially meeting our obligation or our ultimate why for our kiddos either. And that's that idea of standards proficiency versus just like a short blip on a test at the end of the year.
And speaking of the LCAP plan, I was happy to see that the data was aligned to the graduate profile, but none of the data aligned to our LCAP plan of the 5% increase, right? And I know last year, if I recall correctly off memory, it was tied to the CAF score. But this year's, when I'm looking at these presentations, it's tied to these tests, the STAR tests. So what would be also good to include on a future presentation is to say how well we're aligned to meeting that 5% improvement goal.
Yeah, I could answer and address that question. The state data is not yet public. So it will be the raw CAS scores go public later this month. In fact, it goes public on the 18th. And so it won't be until after the data is public that we could solidify and do a presentation on the real data. On the SIPSAs that you've seen is the preliminary data, but for something as important as informing the board on what our state score is and our data is, we really need to use the data that is released by the state at that point in which it's public. So we get the state raw score data on CASP on October 18th. The dashboard goes public on December 15th.
And based on these, how well do you think we would do, our students have done on the CAS? Gut feeling. I know data means that there's no such thing as gut.
I've seen the preliminary data. We're static.
Okay. And then I do have a question on page, the 2 pages forward at 9th and 12th grade. And one of the things that surprised me, and I just want to make sure I understand that it is us doing a better job, is that if you look at the number of students with credit deficiency, it's 1,019 for 2023. Comparably, the year before, it's 1,323. And so that's a massive improvement. It's almost a 30% improvement from the prior year. Is that because we did so well with the incoming freshman class that went into 10th grade, didn't fail that many classes? Or is it because we actually credit recovered 300 students?
The 1,300 kids that you see at the last year is at the end of the year. We had 1,300 kids that needed credit recovery, and the 1,000 students is what we are currently today, which doesn't have the 9th graders because they're brand new.
Correct. So is that 300 just because the seniors disappear?
Yeah.
And
others. I mean, we did do credit recovery, so that some of it would be credit recovery, but that 1,300 kids in there did count the seniors.
Okay. So it wasn't because we did a better job at recovering credit then?
We did actually do a better job this summer. We did do more credit recovery this summer than last summer. And so we have been working on it. And I think every year we get a little better. But that 1,300 did reflect grades 9, 10, 11, 12, where the 1,000 reflects grades, in essence, grades 10, 11, 12.
Okay. Okay. And then on the same slide, the other thing I noticed was that there was significantly more students taking CTE classes. If you walk over the second call to the last, enrollment in CTE courses, it's 1,777 versus 1,453. That's a significant increase in total number of enrollment in CTE courses. Is that because there is now and just for my understanding, is it because kids are choosing CTE, or is it because we're something else? And if they're choosing CTE, are we looking forward to providing more opportunities for CTE?
We are always looking to expand CTE offerings, and I would say that is a true increase right there. So we do offer more CTE courses and pathways, and so that number represents more students enrolled in that. One of the things that I kind of said quickly, but we are looking, some of our targeted actions for CTE specifically is to increase funding and to increase partnerships in order to increase more CTE opportunities and work-based learning experiences for our kiddos. So that's always one of our goals.
And then lastly, it's more of a comment as opposed to a question. I noticed that there was a 37% increase in AP and honor scores, which is commendable. In the future, I would like to see a presentation on passers rate on AP and how well we're doing on our AP program.
That's already planned.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Well, certainly I think that there's a lot of improvement, but it seems to be spotty. And the hope is we have it much more consistent, that we see the improvement across all sections. And I know this whole data thing for us is in a second year or so, maybe approaching second and a half. But what it's showing us is how important this data is. And I have heard that certain students in certain classrooms don't take these tests seriously. So somehow or another, we need to get that message across that this is vital to their education. And that if they don't take it seriously, how are we going to help them to be better educated? And so it's a double-edged sword, because you don't want to be banging them that take the test and do good on the test. It's about learning. And so I think we've made some giant steps forward, but the data shows we have a lot of work to do. So thank you. Did you have something else?
I do. I just want to say one thing. We've been very mindful of the slides over breaks, and the after-school program, the Expanded Learning Opportunities program, in their intersessions has, they're going to be using curriculum that includes books that the kids take home. So we're going to be building those home libraries to help benefit the students as well. So just one little thing, but it all adds up, and we all know the importance of reading, and that will help everything. So the Expanded Learning Opportunities program has been paying attention to that and trying to find ways that we can work, and that will be part of that summer slide.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we're at the presentation for the update on Edmentum credit recovery.
Good evening. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about the Edmentum program for credit recovery and talk about some of the findings we had from our our August board meeting. Perfect. Thank you. So before we start, I do want to take the time just for a moment to explain what is credit recovery. It's kind of important to understand this. California Ed Code 33318.1, and I'm going to take the time to read this because it's really important to the conversation tonight. Credit recovery refers to a pupil passing and receiving credit for a course that the pupil previously attempted, but for which the pupil was unsuccessful in earning academic credit towards graduation. The pupil can recover the credit by satisfying requirements for the course in which they were unsuccessful and can focus on earning credit based on competency in the content standards for the particular course. And then the Ed Code actually goes through and identifies when the credit recovery programs could happen, which include recovery over the summer, during intersession breaks, after school, on weekends, in computer labs, even during the school day. So what's important to note here is that because the student has already taken the course, they don't need to retake the entire course. They only need to take that which they need to show competency in. So with that in mind, let's talk about the difference between credit recovery and credit remediation. Credit recovery is based on the competency of the standards. Students can make up lost credit without having to retake the entire course, and they could earn as high of a letter grade as a C. What credit remediation is retaking the entire course from start to finish. They retake the traditional course during the school year, or they could also do Admentum, but they're taking the entire course. And they could have a grade higher than a C if they earn a grade higher than a C. For the sake of tonight's presentation, our alternative programs do credit remediation. So for South Lyndhurst and for Abe Lincoln, they do credit remediation. So tonight's conversation is only going to focus on the comprehensive school sites. We need to talk about the importance of credit recovery in our schools. We do know that our students suffered a little through the pandemic and that we are still having students that are having some significant credit deficiencies. And so these numbers are quite large and actually quite staggering. We have 10th graders we have in fact 334 10th graders who have less than 60 credits. That could be one class, one F. It could be 6 classes, 6 Fs. But we have 334 students that have some sort of credit recovery need. For our 11th graders, different levels, but we have a grand total of about 420 kids, and our 12th graders, about 265 kids. These are pretty significant needs. So, how do we handle credit recovery? We use a program called Admentum. We have the kids demonstrate their competency by taking a pre-test, which assesses all the standards. And then they do some coursework. And then at the end, they take an end of the semester assessment, which once again assesses all the standards. One of the things that the pre-test does is if a student has assessed the standards at proficiency, then the student no longer has to do work in that. They've already demonstrated competency. They only have to work on the standards in which they have not demonstrated competency. So the end of the semester test, however, will assess all of the standards again. So again, you get that last minute check that the student really did in fact show competency in all the standards. So Admentum is an online digital platform, and it also, by the way, is an A through G approval, A through G approved for UCOP. The concerns that were voiced in August, I want to take the time to address each one. Its first one was that students were taking tests at home where they have access to online resources to find answers. We did have some cases with that, in particular summer school last year, because of our lack of transportation. So that was true. And we are addressing that. We will no longer allow that to happen. All tests, the pre-test and the end of semester test, will be done in the presence of a teacher in person. So we could accommodate for that and make sure that the kids are using their brains instead of online resources. The second one was students taking classes and not doing any writing assignments or labs, and I'm going to lump it together with number C, where teacher assignments were being changed within the program. From our investigation, we found that at Marysville High School, it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, we had a small group of teachers that were doing credit recovery come together and decide what components or what parts of the activities that students needed to complete in order to move along in the program. What didn't happen was that wasn't necessarily readdressed every year, and so the new teachers that were adding on and doing credit recovery weren't aware of those decisions prior teachers made. And so Marysville was continuing forward with omitting 2 sections, 2 activities, and not all the teachers agreed with that. So that's not going to happen anymore. Number D, the students were completing a small amount in a small amount of time. Well, there is some truth to the fact that if a student only had to demonstrate competency in 1 or 2 standards, they would not be working as much time as a student that may have had to demonstrate competency in 17 or 18 standards. So the time that the students are in the program will vary based on how they did on that pre-test. Also, we have situations when I interview teachers, they also told me, like our students with IEPs, they worked offline with the teacher. The teacher printed the assignments and worked with the students and did accommodations. We also had some teachers that were doing notes, or some students doing notes, and the teachers would refer to those notes and the teachers reviewed those notes. And so the time that the students spent, in some cases, what was contributed, the amount of time in the program may not have been accurate based on the work that was happening outside of the program. We also discovered that in some cases we had students who started a class, let's say they started the class during the spring of last school year, they didn't finish. So they took the class again in summer with a different teacher. So in those cases, we had students showing up on the report twice. In one case, there may have been 10 minutes in the program, but the student didn't get credit. But in the other case, when you found the student with the same class with a different teacher, they had more time. So there was that. So it takes us down to number E, credits for being given. So I actually talked to the one teacher that had the most information, who provided and had that deep conversation. And I asked that teacher to give me a list of students so I could do a transcript audit. So I received a list of 24 students. One student I couldn't find, so the name was wrong or the misspelling was wrong, something. So I'm going to say 23 students I did the audit on. Of that, 54 students did not receive credit. So there was absolutely no evidence of credit recovery on the transcripts. So more than half of the 23 students didn't get credit. 21% of the students, they actually received credit, but from another teacher. That scenario I talked about earlier, where the student took the class in summer school. So they actually received credit from a different teacher than the teacher who gave me the information. And the last one, 21% of the students did receive credit, but they did have an overall score of 70 in the Inventum program. So there was some kids who received credit, but they also were successful with over 70% of the program. And the last one was about students plagiarizing work. This is always a possibility. This is actually always a possibility in everybody's classroom with every writing assignment. So those teachers have a lot of tools available to them to check for plagiarism, but Edmentum has actually, kind of ironically, they sent me information about a month ago about the fact that they now have copy leaks available to use as an AI detection program for plagiarism. So you're going to see tonight on the consent agenda that we're going to go ahead and purchase with approval the copy leaks to go ahead and add to our Inventum to address the issue of plagiarism. So through our investigation, we found some consistent practices. We found that the teachers that I interviewed were in full support of Inventum. they wanted to protect the integrity of the program. We found that the sites were doing the pre-test and the end of semester test. We also know that the pre-test, I did confirm, the pre-test and end of semester tests are locked and students can't access them until the teacher unlocks them. We also know that the teacher has to determine when the student could take the end of semester test, and so the ones unlocking it. We know that all the standards are assessed on the end of semester test. We also learned that all of the students in the sciences, all the labs are removed, because to do the labs, you had to actually have stuff to do the labs with. We also learned that the teacher of record provided the grades to the counselors. We also learned that the counselors monitored the completion of the students in the recovery programs. They all had spreadsheets with all the kids on it, and that the counselors had that master list of students. What we did discover is that some sites did remove sections. We did discover that the tests were not always completed in the presence of teachers. We did discover that not all the grades were consistent. Some teachers would change grades here and there in the program based on that independent work that the students were doing. Some students were completing workouts offline, and that we also knew we had a problem with transportation last summer. During the 22-23 school year, we had a total of 426 students receive credit recovery. We are making some changes to our policy moving forward based off of this investigation. We are going to have all assessments must be taken in the presence of a teacher on campus. The pre-test and the end of semester test will be open and closed in the presence of a teacher. Students will not be allowed to have phones or additional online access during those times. We are going to set a standard that students must complete 80% of the activities assigned, and they have to have a score of 70% or higher to get a D, 80% or higher to earn a C. We also acknowledge that the amount of time to complete the course will be determined on the standards or concepts the students must complete to demonstrate competency. And based how the program is built, the student could attempt the end of semester test up to 3 times. If after the 3rd time they haven't passed it, we are expecting the teacher to work with the student with some instruction to help the student figure out where the disconnect is and to support the student with the activities, so that way the student can then retake it a 4th time or more as needed until they pass. And that the teachers will closely monitor the student progress, and if the student isn't showing adequate progress in the coursework, that we expect the teachers to communicate that with the parents. We are offering credit recovery during intersession courses, which will be in December, February, and April. We have a summer school in June. Some class periods where students could take credit recovery, and then also some after-school credit recovery options. Our next steps is we're going to develop a credit recovery handbook, disseminate, train the staff. We'll train the staff on the use of copy leaks. We'll make sure we have a newly established parent letter that will go home to notify parents when their student needs credit recovery. We'll expand credit recovery options to intersession, summer school, and during the school day. And we're going to start doing a quarterly assessment on how well our students are doing. So you will see a regular update on credit recovery. Questions?
Thank you for the information, Amy. I got a couple of questions for you. Do teachers have the capability to edit courses?
Yes, they do.
Do teachers have the ability to create student accounts?
No.
Who creates the student accounts?
They're rostered through Aries.
Okay.
Sorry,
trying to think one more question here. I can't remember what the question was.
I have 2 questions. The first one relates to one of the items that were brought up in the August board meeting that's not up there, which was double counting credits. Are we still practicing that? Did we practice it? Are we still practicing it? And has that changed?
So these are the classes that when the students are enrolled in a credit recovery class?
Yeah, and we're
Yes.
counting it twice.
So we did have one school last year that did that. We are going to stop that practice. It's going to be non-bearing from this point forward.
Okay. And then if you can go to slide, the third slide. I just want to get a clarification. Back one. It was that student may earn a highest grade of C. What's concerning for me is that I'm assuming that these students are in credit recovery because they've earned an F in that class already.
Correct.
So is the grade C and F counted together in the GPA?
When the GPA is calculated, when the second time that class shows up, it replaces the grade.
Okay, so does that mean then the F stays on the transcript?
Yes.
But it's not counted as part of the GPA for graduation?
Correct.
Okay, so that means that student needs to maintain that C in order to maintain a 2.0 GPA for the minimum requirement for us to graduate that student then?
The 2.0 rule is to participate in the graduation ceremony.
Oh, okay. But what's the GPA requirement to actually graduate then?
No, you have to you pass your classes with a D. You meet all your credit recoveries
so we don't have a
with a D or
floor
higher.
for GPA. Okay, then
Yeah.
I'm good then.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
The courses in Edmonton, are they 5 credit or 10 credit courses?
5.
How-
Oh, sorry, 10.
How would a situation work, say, for example, if a student needed partial credit?
Let me go back. They're semester courses, so they're 5.
5, okay.
Yeah.
What if a student needed 3 credits?
Then they take the whole thing. Because now the alternative program has a way of going through and they will actually decide how much work for the students to do for that credit remediation model. But for credit recovery, we expect the full competency.
Okay. Is it the intention to make all 3 high schools on the same page with
Yes.
what a particular course is going to look like and what it's going to be?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
We have one public comment. Angela Stiegel. You have 3 minutes.
Sorry.
That one?
Sure, that'll work. Thanks.
Okay.
So Angela Stiegel, still president of the Marysville Unified Teachers Association, still an English teacher over at Marysville High School. And so it probably comes as no surprise that I'm up here speaking to you tonight based on this report. First thing that I want to say is I do appreciate the hard work that I know Amy Stratton and Jay Trujillo both have put into this. I've spoken to both of them at least a couple of times since this came up in the board meeting, but I just wanted to kind of bring a couple of things to the board's awareness, because even though we've made some progress here tonight in having this report, we still have a whole lot of work to do, and there are still a whole lot of issues that are not being brought to the forefront and are not being brought to your awareness that we still have to do. And we can't do it all tonight, and I can't do it all in 2 minutes. But in going back to this slide and this ed code, I will say that one of the things that becomes problematic is this splitting of hairs, the difference between credit recovery and credit remediation. That difference does not exist in ed code. That's a difference that we are making up on our own. And I will tell you right now that our interpretation of the language for credit recovery, and I don't think there's any malice here. I don't think Amy Stratton is putting this up here because she's trying to do something nefarious. But what I will tell you is that as a classroom teacher in the trenches every day, this delineation, this splitting of hairs is already yielding disastrous results at our school sites. And some of it you noticed even in the data that you were looking at for Marysville High School, but it is continuing. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. We have students who will sit in a class and do absolutely zip, and will tell the teacher that I don't have to do anything because I know that either during intersession or summer school, I can do this in a few hours and make up the 5 credits. And then when you tell them, well, you know, there's a new policy, you're only gonna be able to get a C, they're like, I don't care, that's passing, doesn't make any difference to me. And so we have those issues that we need to resolve and work on. There's also, I'm trying to figure out exactly where it went. As far as the concerns that were brought up, I want to be clear, and I'm not trying to be awful here, but it's not just a matter of students plagiarizing work, so like copying an English assignment or whatever. I will tell you that students are cheating, and they are cheating rampantly, and they will tell you that it's easy to do. If you Google Edmentum cheating, you will come up with 4.4 million TikTok results just like that. That's not to mention Snapchat, Instagram, all the others. And so this is like the tip of the iceberg, and we still have work to do, a lot of it, if we're going to continue to use this. Copy leaks is just one thing. I've also said we need to block Brainly and some other things. And I know I'm over my 3 minutes, but we have work to do if this is what we're going to utilize. I also will tell the district that we need to actually sit down. I had not seen the actual next steps until they just popped up, and so that's news to me and news to the teachers union, so that's something we need to work on.
I have a question hopefully you can answer. In this lens to what you were saying about them taking this in the summer, can you fail this, or can you just ad nauseum test and test and test with the only constraint being the calendar?
Pretty much.
When you stop. So you can't fail.
Right. I mean, you can in that you just give up and you decide not to do it anymore.
Right, but besides that and the actual calendar running out of time is the only thing limiting. Wonderful.
And that's where also, sorry, Amy, but also in the discussions and the recommendations about, making sure that parents are contacting home and making sure that after I can't remember if it was the third or fourth attempt, that there's additional instruction and those sorts of things. That's not what Edmentum is right now for anything in regards to our comprehensive high schools. And so that's going to have to really be looked at, because that's not at all what's happening, and that's not how Edmentum is utilized right now. Additionally, I would also just like to point out one quick last thing on the options for credit recovery. That third bullet about credit recovery class period, that only exists at one of your 2 comprehensive high schools. At the last board meeting, when we made the change and suddenly made our academic success class a CTE class, you nixed that for Marysville High School students. So now our students do not have that ability any longer. So, thanks.
Thank you.
I have a question for Amy. Amy, I have a question for you. So just to piggyback on Seth's question, if you move to go back one slide, I believe, where it notes, so I thought that the individual has a post-test.
It's the end of semester test.
Yeah. So, and that was where my concern of the C all was built around, and I was looking at how do they earn that C, right? And so when I looked at this deck, I can see that they have to pass the post-test with a 70% or higher, or to get a D, and 80% or higher to a C. So there's an examination, and then in the same bullet point, it notes that they have up to 3 times. Right? And then they have a 4th time to take it. So to understand this correctly, are we allowing, is the bulk of our students taking this post-test more than 3 times?
I couldn't tell you that answer. The system is built that allows the student to take it up to 3 times, and then it locks and won't let the student take it again. The thing there is, the reason for that, when I talked with Edmentum, when I talked with our reps, is they said that after that 3rd attempt with failure, it really means that somebody needs to work with that student. They need to go in and figure out what's going on. It's kind of giving the kids 3 options or 3 times to be successful on their own, but after that, they need help and support with the teacher. So that's kind of what the program is designed to do, and that's how it's designed to do.
But we know how many overrides to get to the 4th test occurs in our district, right? If the concern is our students are using this as an alternative, and for me, it's a competency-based program. I'm all for competency-based programs. I'm actually all for alternative means for a student to prove that they know the knowledge that they're supposed to know. My concern would be is that if we are allowing to test over and over and over and over, at a certain point they know the test. It's not a competency-based test anymore. It's a memorization game. And so we should know how many times we override, and if the bulk of our students are below 3, that means these students met the competency standards that's set by at minimum. That's my point, is that should be an important measurement that we should look at.
I will contact the rep to see if there's any way for us to get reports on that.
Okay.
Well, the one question I have for you, since we're this far into this, why are we using this program?
Inmentum has been in the district for several years. It was brought to our alternative programs, I don't even know how many years ago, probably more than 10 years ago. And so it's a program that we have a history with, and it's a program that our alternative programs teachers use on a regular basis and are experts in the program. And so we just continued and expanded our contract to just build upon what is already in the district without purchasing something new.
Mr. Davis, and maybe just to add further, I'm familiar with several of the online credit recovery platforms that exist out there. This is just one of several. Edgenuity is another, Odyssey-ware is another, Plato is another, and some of the concerns that have been expressed either tonight or previously are pretty consistent around all of the programs. But to take it a step further about why are we offering this program, whether it's Edmentum or any other, we are doing it because the need exists, as you can see. So what happens if we didn't have an online platform which allows students to, as Dr. Yang said, to demonstrate their proficiency and just make up just that which is missing? Minus this, we would have to offer it in the form of a regular classroom, whether it's a regular class during summer school or a regular class during the year. And simply, we just don't have the FTE allocation to provide that level of remediation as needed or depicted by the data. I think when we did the math just behind closed door, Amy and myself, I think we equated it to it would equate to about 11 more teachers needed just to address the credit recovery need that's shown up on that slide right there. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the presentation and for the dialogue.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Now we're at presentation 10.8, presentation and update on the special education program transfer fiscal analysis, assurances, and timelines.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Asrani, assistant superintendents. My name is Siobhan Matthews, Director of Special Education for Marysville Joint Unified. With me this evening is our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Dr. Trujillo, and our Special Education Coordinators, Amy Eggleston and Lauren Huser. We have one missing compadre today who is out ill. That's Kelly Williamson, and she is our coordinator of our preschool and transition folks. We would like to provide an update of our program transfer analysis and recommendations that we're prepared to send to the county superintendents in November and review some of where we've been. But first, let's take a look at our why. Oh, I can do it myself. Thank you. Okay. Okay, our why. We believe that our current separate two-system operation is designed as an exclusionary process in which creates challenges and limitations to effectively provide access and inclusion for our students in general ed experiences. Education of children with special needs can be more effective by ensuring seamless access to inclusion opportunities in the general ed setting. Inclusion practices lead to higher levels of student engagement, peer acceptance, and academic success. So I'm going to review our processes and timelines related to the special education program transfer. In December of 2022, Marysville Joint and Yuba County Office of Ed, we completed the analysis with our independent contractor, and that was Maureen Burness. We started that process in October of 22 with the finalization product for the county office and Marysville Joint in December of 22. March 1st of 23, Marysville Joint requested to transfer all moderate to severe K through 22 programs operated by Yuba County Office of Education. And MJUSD was to meet, that was a guideline set forth by our SELPA policies. In March of 23 through September of 23, we conducted an internal study of our program transfer data and options. In September of 23, we contracted with School Services of California for program transfer analysis, and we were using comparative district data, revenue and expenditures, and our program staffing analysis. Those were the three areas we asked School Services to take a good hard look at. And the next piece, we'll look at our feedback and discussion meetings on program transfer. We began this journey this summer, July 27th, meeting with MJUSD YCOE stakeholder groups that included some staff, that included some union stakeholders, board members, and some parents in the programs. September 6th, and we have one more scheduled to meet meetings with our CSEA unit. September 18th and October 4th, we met with our MUTA unit. August 29th and October 5th, we met with our YCOE leadership. And then October 9th, we met with the YCOE labor union leadership team. Okay. Anjanette Pelletier was the School Services of California person who completed our report. So I have just taken three highlights to bring forth for you of this large document. One, the analysis indicates that the programs currently operated by YCOE can be effectively and efficiently run by the district after a program transfer. The goals of the LCAP, the program, and the district are clearly aligned with the priority of providing increased inclusive practices and access to students currently served by the County Office of Ed programs. And that successful transfer of these programs do require substantial commitment of time, resources, and support. And that, I wanted to highlight, that came out in the report, but is also one of the concerns and considerations of some of the stakeholder meetings. So I added that. The program transfer process. Many of the concerns or worries and fears is, what will this look like for families? And so we really kept that in the forefront of our mind as we go through this analysis process. So students remain the priority. The families and students should not see a change in IEP implementation, location of programs, there's no intended change, staffing ratios, transportation, nutritional services, and then I just wanted to remind, we have to ensure that our teachers in these programs are appropriately credentialed. So there should not be a change in any credentialing related to students with moderate severe programs. The day-to-day operation of the program should see no change. What we might see is calendar alignment for families within MJUSD and these moderate to severe programs. That's always been somewhat of a concern as we align calendars.
I just want to draw your attention to the third bullet point on the left. where it says no intended change. Up until last week, our communication to stakeholders in all of those meetings that you saw depicted a few moments ago was that there was going to be no change. Last week, we were notified by the Yuba County Superintendent for us not to plan on having access to one of the classrooms at ABK school, as that building belongs to the Yuba County Office of Education. So that's surprising, an unfortunate learning will then now cause us to revisit whether or not a location change is still possible or not. So that is something that just we wanted to bring to your attention, and that's just where we are with that.
Okay. After our variety of stakeholder meetings and looking at the analysis, we came up with 4 options to consider and ask School Services of California to do a deeper analysis in. So I will summarize these 4 options. The first one is to transfer 6 classrooms, the 2 at Yuba College, 2 at Marysville High School, and 2 at McKinney. Option 2 is to transfer 4 classrooms, 2 at Marysville High School, 2 at McKinney, and Yuba County continues to operate Yuba College. Option 3, transfer 3 classrooms, 1 at Yuba College, 1 at Marysville High, 1 at McKinney. And then the 4th option, transfer 2 classrooms, 1 each at Marysville High and McKinney, and Yuba County Office of Ed would keep Yuba College, and 1 each at Marysville and McKinney. Our current proposal is that, which is option 2, is that we transfer 2 classrooms at McKinney and 2 classrooms at Marysville High School. So that would be 4 teachers in total with a range of 4 to 6 paras, and that's always dependent on student need.
And going back to what I just shared in the couple of slides previously, our initial thinking was to just do the 2 classrooms at the middle school level and the 2 classrooms at the high school level. Upon the new development that I just talked about, that is now causing us to look more deeply at the expenditures, the benefits, the challenges to the program transfer all around. And so another possibility for us is that we extend just beyond the 2 middle school and the 2 high school, and we also look to consider the 2 classes at Yuba College. I should also point out that we experienced a similar occurrence last year with respect to the preschool program. And what I mean is that we learned sort of like at the 11th hour that Yuba County Office of Education would not give up some of the preschool classrooms. And so we had to make adjustments at the last minute as well and make arrangements for a new classroom location. So it happened last year. It's happening this year at this moment with one of the classrooms at UBK. And so we're just, again, looking at all of it in entirety, trying to look ahead and want to make sure that ultimately the decisions that we make are going to best serve our students, our families, as well as the current circumstances and the context of MJUSD.
One of the other considerations of program transfer, we heard this throughout, is to be planned, thoughtful, considerate, strategic. So we have developed a 5-year plan for program transfer. You can see the 23-24 school year began with the SDC preschool in the bold. Proposed 24-25, the middle school and high school programs, and so on. Yuba College, the elementary and primary, 27-28. The next slide is merely a summary snapshot of the SELPA policies that are published and that we are to adhere to, and what stages we are in the program assurance and timelines, just as a reminder. So prior to November 1st, we'll need to modify our request. If you remember, we had requested K-22. If we're modifying that proposal to the middle school and high school, we'll have the obligation to meet that deadline. And then throughout, you'll see the rest of the timelines as they're posted by the Yuba County SELPA. This slide also depicts program assurances and timelines per Education Code 56207 that no educational programs and services already in operation in a school district or a county office pursuant to Part 30 shall be transferred to another school district, county office, or from a county office of education to a school district unless special education local plan has developed a plan for the transfer which addresses at minimum the following, which is also posted on the SELPA website. We need to take into consideration our students' needs, the availability of a continuum of services, the functional continuation of the current program as it stands, and provision of services in the least restrictive environment from which the affected pupils can benefit, maintenance of the appropriate support and services, and the assurances that there'll be compliance with all the federal and state local laws, and that the means through which parents and staff are represented in the planning process. Additionally, through this process, there have been questions and about what inclusion opportunities might look like for students with moderate to severe needs and supports. What that access to general education might look like. And so some examples are listed. Inclusion activities are also written into the IEP by the IEP team who determines the student's readiness to benefit from inclusion activities. And inclusion is also based on the student capacity to handle the activities. So participation may range from minutes per week to day. And then I just listed just some of the examples. In addition, there's opportunities for parent participation in the redesign of special ed programs and at site level advisory meetings, such as your PTA, your site councils, your other activities related to parents. We were preparing a SDC preschool update for you this evening, and I just wanted to cover, we've just finished week 8. We are sending out a parent survey to our folks at the end of the first quarter, asking some questions about their experience so far. As Dr. Trujillo mentioned earlier in the evening, we're doing some data tracking in our programs, working closely with our child development program to identify those data points that might give us a baseline for this year as we move forward to make sure we're tracking all the great things and all the areas that we need to improve. We will bring on our final teaching partner in a few weeks to be 100% teaching staff completed. And then we're also continuing our professional development on inclusive practices, and collaboration is ongoing. Overall, you heard from staff members at the prior board meeting, and then we'll seek administrator feedback and observations and visits, which we welcome you to also come out and see our preschool program. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Do any of the board members have questions for the team? Well, the hope I've had all along with this discussion is that the children are our priority. And going with that is the staff and the support that they receive with this transfer. And at least from what you've presented, it appears that you've taken great care that these students in their transfer won't see any change. Just the administrative part is what we're changing. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, with the exception of the possibility at ABK because of the classroom situation I spoke to.
That is quite odd that for all of us who are interested in taking care of these children, we have an entity who doesn't seem to be interested in that. And that's quite concerning. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, we have a few comment cards. Mr. Myers?
Good evening. My name is Gerard Myers, and my son has been in the Yuba County program since he began school, and he's now at the college. I wanted to discuss some of the things that Mrs. Matthews put up on your board here initially. Talked about the timeline of the first meeting that Dr. Azrani actually sought me out at one of these meetings to be part of this committee, and I think it wasn't favorable after some of you found out that I wasn't on board with this. However, there were supposed to be more continued meetings with us, and this brought to our attention, and the fact that the parent surveys have not been done or completed yet, so we don't know what really the parents and the students feel about any of these programs. And we were supposed to get back together and talk about some of this stuff as we were asked to do. And that hasn't happened, unfortunately. I guess you completed your other study on the 25th of September. We weren't given any of that information. And these concerns that are coming up the 11th hour, according to Mr. Trujillo, just shows that, you know what, you're not prepared to do this. And the board is going to be irresponsible in your duties if you let this move forward. You should withdraw this now. And we need to look at this for the next year and maybe consider this time next year, after all of this studies have been completed and the parent surveys have been done and all of us have been included. It says here that your inclusion things are going to be parent participation. Well, we were only able to participate back in July. That was 2.5 months ago. We haven't been included in any of this since. Your meetings, so on and so forth. Our young kids over here at the elementary school, there's already problems with the settings. Some of these things that it appears that you're trying to take credit for here, that access to general education, all of these things already exist with the county program. The physical education, the recess, the lunch, the assemblies, the rallies, the dances, the athletics, the clubs, the field trips, all of these things have already been done. It's not something you're bringing to the table. This has already been part of it. ROP is part of the Yuba County's program. Our kids go out and work in the community. That's already something that's already been taking place. You're trying to take credit for something that you have no reason to take credit for. These things already exist with our children. They already go out and do community-based education at least once a week. I know at the high school here, on your campus here, they do. This parent participation meeting, we're not included in anything. We haven't been included at all. Myself and Ms. McCook have been very active in this. We went to the first meeting, and you board members, I've asked you, I've pleaded with all of you, I've called all of you. I've only received phone calls from some of you. After that meeting, Mr. Davis, you and I spoke in the corridor. You said, yes, there needs to be further meetings. There hasn't been none. You also assured me of that, Dr. Ajrani. This hasn't happened. So you know what? How am I to believe that there's going to be inclusion when you tell me these things and you haven't followed up on them? You can't follow up on a simple claim you make to me as a parent. How can I believe that you're going to make all of this inclusive? You know what? It's your responsibility as a board to delay this. You are not ready. And you know what? You are not being inclusive at all. If you can't be inclusive with me as a parent that promises you've made, how can I expect you to be inclusive with the rest of this?
Thank you very much. Our next comment is from Jennifer McCook.
Good evening. I'm going to reiterate a lot of things that Rod talked about. Inclusion is being pushed. I feel like this program transfer was initially being forwarded because, oh, we can save a whole bunch of money. And now, since it's not really coming to light, that it's going to be now be under this banner of inclusion, like somehow my daughter is not being included, where she is being included weekly in her current program, very happily. And to be honest, inclusion is not a one-size-fits-all. I know that there are, my daughter has friends in her class that inclusion will not work for them. So not everyone's gonna buy into this program. We already have, she goes on field trips to Walmart with her class. She gets pushed into PE classes, with science classes. She's made friends. I'm not against inclusion. She's made friends when she was over, I'm sorry, I never said, my daughter is with Annabelle Carr on the McKinney campus. She's in 7th grade. We've been with Yuba County since January 2000. And she has totally blossomed underneath the various teachers and has done very, very well. And she has made friends when she was over at Kynoch when they had PE with various classes. And that has been wonderful to see as we run into friends out and about, and I didn't know they had a relationship, and they run up, grab her hand, come on, Melanie, let's go play. And it's beautiful to see, but it's not a one-size-fits-all. Sorry, I have a lot of notes. So my main concern, though, is that this program transfer is going to be too fast. My daughter's going to be directly impacted because she is going to be in that very first incoming group. It sounds like her classroom is going to be taken away. So there's that fiscal impact on Marysville Joint, to move this on. There is you guys are not bringing anything new to the plate in regards to what's going to benefit my daughter and her peers, and then the other students, not just my daughter. Everything already exists. To echo what Angela said, collaboration is huge. Collaboration can be done very easily, I think, with Marysville Joint and Yuba County. They did that when we had to transfer my daughter from Marysville Joint when it was apparent she needed more than what they could give, and we transferred over to Yuba County. And it was beautiful because my daughter's need was for center stage, and she was taken care of. It's too fast, and it's just not in her benefit. And there's just going to be, it's going to fall apart, and I think it's going to come back.
Thank you very much. Dennis Bizzle.
I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but I've been watching the discussions on Zoom at the board meetings, and I've got kind of a unique perspective in that I worked at Yuba County Office of Ed for 22 years. I worked for the Marysville District for 15 years. I was there when some of those programs were moved to the Marysville District. And I have a sense that what the role of the county office initially was. When I first came here, the county office served kids that were, I think later that label came low incidence, but kids that were so few that they needed a concentration of services. And so if you go over to Kynoch School, you see one wing's got a plaque on it that says Annabelle Carr School, and I believe it says for the cerebral palsied children, because that was the language used at that point in time. So I see the county office as providing services, and I'll say I was the county superintendent for 2 years, and I was the special ed director here. Some of these folks sitting here I hired and worked with a long time ago. So I think you need to look at that frame of reference. And the one thing I noticed that there was a slight change in the first page of the presentation versus what was online versus what was up tonight. And I really like the second sentence that was not there anymore, which says that over 40 years of research shows that inclusion works. But I took some exception at the first paragraph that says the program is designed as an exclusionary process, because I don't believe it was. It was designed initially, and the changes were made, to enrich services, add a concentration of services for lots of kids. So when Marysville said we don't want to do what are now SH programs, they thought we could, that the county office where I was working at the time could provide a more intense set of services. I see the districts and the counties being a continuum of services that should be offered, and we should make some arrangements to make them all work. I will tell you that at one point in time, the SELPA here was supposed to be a Yuba and Sutter County SELPA. At one point in time, Virginia School was supposed to be where you're building the addition to Koval right now, but there was some anomalies in the funding mechanism that more or less forced us, the county office at the time, to build that program in Wheatland because of some funding changes. So there are a lot of things to consider and a lot of history to reflect on, and I think it does take quite a bit of time. The last thing I'd like to say is you guys need to be appreciated, because anybody that runs for any board and serves there has a big job. And I know from working with actually a previous edition of this board a long time, that there's a lot of work you do in preparation and reading through things and getting ready to come and talk. So I hope that we can continue to have a discussion that looks at options. I don't want to tell you what to do tonight. I just thought that perhaps that history lesson is worth
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's good to see you, Dennis. I'm really glad you came, and we have questions about the buildings and the history, and so I hope you can be included in some of these conversations to glean information that appears to have been lost.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And also, you need to have the proviso that it's been over a decade since I was day-to-day involved in this, so this is kind of an old man also railing a little bit at the moon. Thanks.
Thank you. Angela Stiegel.
Beginning to think I should have sat closer to the front. It's a long walk. Angela Stiegel, president for the Marysville Unified Teachers Association, still teaching over at Marysville High, last time I checked anyway. And just a few things from the presentation that have come up. I will reiterate some of what the parents have said. I distinctly remember sitting in that July 27th meeting and being told that that was just the beginning, that that was just the first of meetings. Well, it turned out to be the first and it turned out to be the last. And I will say that part of what I'm finding kind of bothersome is the difference in the staffing even that's provided on the slides on page 7. What was originally in the slides is different from what is now in the slides, which is also different from what was actually said during the presentation. One of the big bones of contention that the union had, one of the big questions we had in our review of the report, I believe last week, was that we couldn't nail down anything as far as staffing numbers. We just kept being told, well, we're gonna, guarantee, we think, kind of, sort of, these staffing ratios. For teachers, that's not the only staffing ratio we're talking about here. And so it was kind of like trying to nail warm jello to a tree. And I will say now that there's a whole lengthy list of other jobs that go with this, that it's not just teachers. And so I don't know what's happened to, more adaptive PE, what's happened with occupational therapists. The occupational therapists that are listed with the county program, we don't know what's happening with those. We're not told. I can tell you that the last time the board had to approve one through what we do at the district here, it's an additional $170,000, $180,000 for one. And that's not included in these cost projections. We've got school psychs, we've got board certified behavior analysts, we've got a school nurse coordinator. Oh, by the way, you're down to one school nurse for the entire district. So yeah, I don't know how this is supposed to help you out. Well, we'll have 2, I think, in a week or so. Right now, we're at 1. CNAs, LVNs are on this. We don't have those. And so to leave you with a couple of things from your own report in that page 9, successfully transferring programs will require substantial commitment of time, resources, and support over the next 9 months, which is quite a short timeline for the number of changes required. Analysis of the capacity, preparation, and confidence of the staff who must execute the task of a transfer is something that be accomplished by involving those staff and considering the necessary steps, actions, and needs within the system. That's not happening. It's a short timeline that's becoming shorter and shorter, and the people still aren't being included. And if you go down 2 paragraphs, which I don't have time to read, it talks about how the motivation is high. Motivation is high from like one person that is being handed down.
Thank you. Now we're at updates by department. Administrative services.
Hello, I will be brief tonight. I just wanted to say that we have begun training our wellness staff with some kind of mindset, brain information, and it's going really well. The staff is really excited to start getting that type of training. We're going to be doing some PBIS training with them, some conscious discipline that we've already started, and so that's going really, really well. So I just wanted to say that it's nice having a new director of wellness on board, and he's doing a great job getting the staff ready to go with our wellness centers at all of our school sites. So.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions for Brian? If not, business services.
Thank you. Good evening. I just have some good news from the transportation department. We've been able to add a couple new general ed routes on Highway 70 and then also in the Cordova area. And we have expanded routes in Loma Rica, Browns Valley, and Foothill. And as we bring in more drivers in the next few months, we will add 2 more routes, one up in the mountains and one at Arboga. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Jennifer? Education services?
Yeah, I just want to draw your attention to the updated PD overview for both the month of August and September, and I believe Mr. Russell is going to pull up August. I think you've seen this one time on the screen, but I brought it to you a couple of times. So what you see in August, just a reminder, this is the number of participants that are on page one, like for example, 161 elementary, 130 secondary. We are also, I'm not sure what page that is per se, but what you will also see, should you look into this information further, the number of sessions that we are providing under specific categories. So for example, academic versus health and safety, et cetera. We also are depicting the number of individuals by category, so teachers, paras, for example. And then we also are highlighting the participation by school, so you can see which schools are involved. What I'll say is that June, July, and August are our heavy PD months to the tune of over $100,000 expended each of those 3 months. And then you see it taper off in September, which is the next one. So again, I know it's been a late night, but I certainly just wanted to highlight and thank the folks who are doing the PDing, that is our teachers, our paras, administrators, our schools, because they are trying to meet the task of being successful with our kiddos.
Thank you, Jay. Are there any questions for Jay? Personnel Services, Dr. Simon.
Good evening, thank you. So real exciting news right before this board meeting. I was notified that we received an additional $150,000 from the Commission on Teacher Credentialing for our teacher residency grant. And we have 5 spots remaining for our residents to establish a pipeline for special education and secondary single subject teachers. Tomorrow night in this room at 5 p.m., we're hosting an orientation. Basically, like when I went to school to do my student teaching to be a teacher, I did that for free. We are paying residents a now increased amount of $40,000 it will totally pay for their teaching program and also give them some living expenses. And in return, we ask that they commit to student teaching in our district this year and next year, and then become teachers in our district for 4+ years from there on out. So if you have friends who have bachelors and want to go into teaching, send them here tomorrow at 5 because we have 5 spots, and I can almost guarantee that they will be gone by the end of the week. And we want them to get the best match for people that are going to be have longevity in our district.
Great. Are there any questions for Dr. Simon? Dr. O'Brien.
I'll do a quick update, thank you. And then I would like to have Mr. James Lohman, who's wearing so many hats for the district right now, to give a quick update on adult education, which is absolutely outstanding, and then the work that he's been doing with Parent Summit and partnerships. So very quickly, I want to thank everybody for the support that we're getting across our community, engaging with us in conversations. We had a wonderful turnout at the Hmong dinner that we had last week. We've started doing a lot of the community outreach with getting families in and talking to them and listening to them. We also have the American Indian dinner that's coming up on November 11th. And you saw Pat Bennett today is working closely with Jay and Amy and our team. And obviously James will talk about that and to get that off the ground. And then we have another fabulous thing I think Ms. Hasty will be very happy to hear. For the first time, we are doing the MJUSD Arts and Music program to the community. As you know, that our auditorium cannot be opened. We have been talking about that as part of our committee. And I think what a beautiful way to show our children and their talents off, because usually when we have the programs, it's packed with parents. But I often wondered how many people in the community saw the talents of our little ones, right? And so we're going to be doing it in the front lawn, that lawn, and we'll make it look like a real beautiful wedding. And we've got speakers that we've invited from the community. And we want people to know that this historic auditorium cannot be opened. What can we do about that? And so I'm really, really happy with the conversation we are having to promote arts and music in our community. I also want to thank our leadership. I want to thank our teachers. I want to thank our support staff. I want to thank our directors, our coordinators. It's endless work that we do. And I want to thank you, board, for your endless support to the work our team is doing. On that note, may I please invite James to give us a quick update on adult education and Parent Summit.
Thanks, James.
My
pleasure. Good evening, and first and foremost, I want to thank you for your support, continued support of the Marysville School for Adults. We are off to a really great start this year. At this time, we have over 90 students that are actively attending both our high school diploma program and our English as a second language classes. They've really taken off. We are working with some community partners and some of our schools at opening additional locations. Also, Mr. Doug Trower is working with us to help us expand classroom space so we can accommodate more students, which is a really great problem to have in this program. 90. And we have, oh boy, yes, we have about 30 students also that we're onboarding. So we really are growing from 9 to 90. And we are working on securing lots of different funding sources. We have a contract with CalWorks, which you approved a few months ago, and we're also waiting on an award notification for us to provide ESL classes for students that are working in the transportation and construction industries, and to help them learn English and on the job site. And it's been a very exciting start. So thank you for your support. And then real quick, did you get the flyer for the Parent Summit? I was very thankful Diane Ortega from Lyndhurst High School also mentioned this with a plug. We have a great day planned on October 28th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Lyndhurst High School. Thank you, Lyndhurst, for hosting that. We have about 25 vendors that are going to be in our exhibit hall, and then we have dozens of sessions, and those sessions for parents are going to be preparation for college, financial aid, mental health resources, early literacy for students, physical health and well-being. We'll have the Mexican consulate there, Adventist Ride Out, Blue Zones. We're going to be talking about social media awareness and bullying, and then we're going to learn about the programs here in MGUSD, like Adult Ed and our graduate profile, our after-school programs, conscious discipline. I mean, the list goes on and on. We have a really great day planned, and we're going to conclude with lunch from a very delicious place to be announced later. And I hope to see some of you there, and I invite all of our parents and our community, please join us on October 28th. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Now we're at 12.1, approval of the September 12, 2023 regular board meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Allison Hasty. Who's going to second? Mr. Steeman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now we are at the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any of the board members would like to have further discussion on? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Doug Criddle. Is there a second? Second by Allison Hasty. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now we're at new business. Okay. Complete the first read of the board policy 9270, conflict of interest. Amy?
Yes, this year we are in an FPM review, which is the federal program monitoring. And so the first thing we do is look through all of our required board documents, our board policies, to see what needs to be updated. And so this one is the first one I'm bringing to you, is on the conflict of interest. For the changes, there were some minor language changes, but the main thing that was added, there was a section on the interests of campaign contributions, and that's new from the last time we reviewed this policy.
Are there any questions for Amy at this time? This is the first read. Thank you, Amy. Now we're at 18.2, open the public notice and review of the new American Sign Language 1 online curriculum for the 2023-24 school year.
I would like to, if it's okay with you, to lump 18.2 and 18.3 together. They're basically the same item. One is for American Sign Language 1, the other is for American Sign Language 2, to bring the online curriculum to the classrooms. Right now, we're working really hard at getting the pilot set up while we go through our month review. We're just missing one little piece that I hope to have resolved by tomorrow, and then all of this will be on display for hopefully by the afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, for the 1 month review. And the students will have access as soon as we get that one little technology glitch figured out.
Are there any questions for Amy on the sign language program? Are there any questions from the audience on the sign language program? If not, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing? Dr. Yang has a motion to close the public hearing. Do I hear a second? Second by Gary Criddle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Public hearing is closed. Well, the second item is to adopt the new American Sign Language.
They're both to open. One is to open the public hearing for ASL 1, then close it. Now to open the hearing for ASL 2 and close it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Anyway, any questions for Amy? If not, do I hear a motion? We close the public hearing. There's two different public hearings?
There's two. There's one for public ASL 1, one for ASL 2.
ASL 2. Yeah. All right. We have a motion to close the public hearing. Is it? Seth is? Goodness gracious. It's been a long night. Yes. Mr. Steeman has seconded the motion to close the public hearing. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Public hearing number 2 is closed. They look the same to me. All right, we're at 19.1. Approve the side letter agreement between MJUSD and Immuta Elementary Site-Based Short-Term Independent Study for the 2023-24 school year. Dr. Simon.
Thank you. This is so we can provide students with work who are absent on an approved independent study for 3 to 14 days and recoup the ADA for attendance for their absence.
Are there any questions for Dr. Simon? If not, do I hear a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Doug Criddle. Is there a second? Second by Allison Hasty. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. 19.2, approve the tentative agreement between MJUSD and OE3 related to mid-shift custodial hours. Dr. Simon.
Yes, we realized some custodians shifted to a mid-shift to do some deep cleaning, and we're following some contract language that didn't apply to their positions and not working the appropriate shift. So the new rep, Carl Carr, was nice enough to meet with me and resolve this issue in a quick order. And this agreement will allow them to work the appropriate number of hours in the middle of the day.
Are there any questions for Dr. Simon? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Allison Hasty. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Seaman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now we're at 19.3. Approve the job description, position, and hire of the Community School Partnership Site Coordinator. Term CCSPP 2023 to 2028. Dr. Simon.
So the hire part is misleading in that item. Apologize for that. You're not hiring anybody tonight. You're just approving the position, 5 positions through the CCSPP grant, which will allow us, this grant is from 2023 to 2028, will allow us to use the grant funds appropriately and have site-based coordinators to oversee the grant program, data collection, et cetera.
Are there any questions for Dr. Simon?
That is for 5 years, correct?
Yeah, the grant goes for 5 years, you bet. And when we post these positions, Mr. Criddle, we let them know that they're limited or grant funds so that they know that the position's not there, it has a termination or a limit to it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So when do you think we're going to hire?
Well, we will, as soon as we get this done, we'll submit the position control forms and get them posted within the next week or so. A week and a half. possibly.
Do I hear a motion?
But Dr. Asrani thinks maybe longer than that, maybe a little longer. Okay. I'll take direction from the superintendent on that. How's that? Is that a good answer?
Stop it. Do I hear a motion? Dr. Yang, you've saved us. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Hasty. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. We're at 19.4. Approve the job description and position of supervisor of adult education. Dr. Simon.
So that program is bursting at the seams, and we want it to continue to grow. We need somebody to supervise that program, as well as perform some of the clerical duties associated with that program. The current clerical duties, if that position ends up being closed, will be transferred over to the middle college program, some of the clerical duties. So the supervisor will allow this job to supervise adult ed, as well as perform some of the supervisory functions that are needed with that program. And then we have some clerical duties that are currently in adult ed that we'll be moving over to middle college. And I've worked with OE3 on those positions, and they're in agreement.
So is this the same person, or is this a different person?
It could be filled from within. It could be filled from outside. More than likely would be filled from a current employee.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Simon?
I'd like to clarify for the record, this is not an additional position for adult education. The current position is administrative 3, secretary 3 position. But as the program is growing, as you heard James talk about, many grants coming in, adult education is highly audited. So what we realize is that secretary 3 is doing so much. This job requires so much. When Bob was here, he was picking up a lot of that. With James and his work with partnerships at Middle College, we felt this position should be a supervisory position, can do all that work individually. And so it's not replacing that. It's not an additional position.
Are there any other questions for either Dr. Asrani or Dr. Simon? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion to approve is Mr. Steeman. Is there a second? By Gary Criddle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. 19.5, approve the job description, position, and hire for manager, grant, data, and community services. Term CCSPP 2023 to 2028. Dr. Simon.
Yeah, same grant you used that was mentioned earlier to fund the site-based coordinator, 5-year grant expiring in 2028. This would be a grant-funded position that would oversee the implementation of that grant at our 10 CCSPP sites. So kind of the globally across the district.
So is this a new position?
It is a new position, but it's a position that people that apply or are hired for it will be notified it's a position that has a termination date of 2028.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Simon?
On some of these grants, do they, once they expire, we can reapply again if they're available?
Yeah, a lot of times they'll re-up the grant or revamp the grant so we can reapply. Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Simon? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Gary Criddle. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Steeman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now we're at 19.6. Approve contract between MJUSD and UMass Global. Custom professional development for mentor teachers for the 2023-24 school year.
So this has already been budgeted as part of the Educator Effectiveness Grant. This is for UMass Global to provide university level support and a course for our mentors in the Teacher Pathways program. We're adding a layer of support for those mentors we didn't have last year.
Are there any questions for Dr. Simon?
What kind of course are we talking about?
It's an online kind of hybrid course. They take one session a month for 2 hours for 8 sessions. It teaches them basically how to be a mentor and a support person for the teacher, how to have those reflective conversations with new teachers, how to observe and what kind of feedback to give them.
One of the courses I had to take going through that process was the United States Constitution, but I got waived because of the degree that I have. So anything we can include to get them those supports and get those courses done out of the way, I'm on board for.
Yeah, I agree.
Are there any questions for Dr. Simon? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Allison Hasty. Is there a second? Second by Gary Criddle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now we're at 19.7. Ratify the memorandum of understanding between MJUSD and Davis Joint Unified School District, California Agricultural Teacher Induction Program for the 2023-24 school year.
This is just like our standard induction program through Sutter, but the difference is it's really geared towards agricultural people with ag credentials, and Davis sponsors it across the state.
Are there any questions for Dr. Simon? If not, do I hear a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Doug Criddle. Is there a second? I didn't get the first one. Allison Hasty seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. 19.8, ratify the memorandum of understanding between MJUSD and Placer County Office of Education for their Education Specialist Intern Program for the 2023-24 school year.
So that county office in Placer County is interested in sending us some special education intern teachers, which I'm really excited about because we definitely need them.
Are there any questions for Dr. Simon? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Doug Criddle. Second by Allison Hasty. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now we're at 19.9. Ratify the memorandum of understanding between MJUSD and Sacramento County Office of Education for the Leadership Institute for the 2023-24 school year.
The last but not least for me, this is an agreement with the Sac County Office of Education to provide a program for new administrators. We have 2 in our cohort that are current MJUSD employees in this program. We hope to have more.
Are there any questions for Dr. Simon? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Doug Criddle. Is there a second? Dr. Yang seconds it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Now, we're at 20.1. Approve the resolution 2023-24/04, National School Bus Safety Week. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Board and Dr. Ozrani, for having me. School Bus Safety Week, which dates back to 1966, recognizes the hard work and dedication of our transportation staff, especially our school bus drivers, that ensure this safe journey every day. Just a couple of numbers from last year, we transported roughly 2,000 kids each day to and from school, both on the general ed and sped side, and we traveled almost 1 million miles. So, ask that you approve the School Bus Safety Week.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Taylor? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Allison Hasty. Is there a second? Second by Gary Criddle. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Now we're at 20.2. Approval of a lease back guarantee maximum price for the Foothill Intermediate School modernization project for the 2023-24 school year.
Hi, thank you. We are asking the board to approve the guaranteed maximum price. This evening, we have Mr. Edwards with Auto Construction to come up and give a short presentation. Thank you.
Introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tom Edwards with Auto Construction, Project Manager.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have extra presentations if everyone needs any. Perfect. A few things just to go over. as far as where we're at, cost, schedule, major work activities, current progress, renderings, and questions. And our team out there will be Otto, PBK, Van Pelt, and the Marysville Joint School District. For pre-construction, it was $15,000, and the guaranteed maximum price is $7,493,802. And within that $7.4 million, we have $458,355 in allowances and contingencies built in. As far as the schedule goes, we had a demo party, also known as a groundbreaking party. It was a great gathering, great turnout. That was done last month. Today is the anticipated approval that we've been working towards with this GMP. If so, then the anticipated notice to proceed would be tomorrow. Anticipated start date, we're looking at October 23rd, so we can get a final completion goal of June 15th prior to next year's start of school to give the students and teachers the opportunity to move in plenty of time.
I have a question. Should that be 2024 for June 15th?
My apologies. Yep, 2024. I missed that one. Sorry about that. Major work activities, just give everyone what we're doing. It's going to be selective demolition and abatement. So most of the shell will remain. A lot of the doors and windows will be replaced. We're going to have some framing and structural steel placed in, just two pieces of major columns that are going in for rim configuration, and then we'll have support steel around some of the perimeter openings. We'll have the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire suppression systems that will be replaced. We'll have site work that includes a new fire tank and fire pump assembly. That'll be on the backside of the facility, and then a little bit of site work in the front with ADA handicap parking. And then we're upgrading all the finishes outside of the kitchen and the gym, because those are going to remain open for the students and teachers. And just know it's going to be active throughout there, so we're going to make sure that we're up, number one, with safety, keep everyone safe and secure around the facility there. Current progress, since we started pre-con, we're still seeking DSA approval. We're going, PBK is working hard with Van Pelt to get that approved. Hopefully we'll get that approval here next week or so. We are doing constructability review with our team. Letters of intents and submittal review and approvals are going through now. Just to make sure we get that out in a proper time frame, because we do have long lead times for certain materials out there. Doing a lot of project coordination. We have our first full schedule meeting tomorrow to define some dates for major milestones. And we're going to continue to work this through a partnership and teamwork to get this job in a timely manner and under budget. And just wanted to show a few renderings that PBK has produced so that the team here can see what June of 24, not 23, will look like here in the upcoming months. So this will be main entrance. Got some cloud ceilings there. Corridor. New lockers, new flooring, new finishes. One of the rooms. And this would be the new science room rendering. And another rendering of a room. Sorry, the library. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for hearing me out. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? We're very, very excited to see this finally get underway, and hopefully DSA will cooperate with us and get this back to us so we can get to work. Greatly appreciate you stepping forward and helping us with this way overdue project. Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? If not, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved from Doug Criddle. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Steeman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Now we have 2023 approval of the financing proposal for the Crossroad Equipment lease and financing to purchase 4 school buses for the 2023-24 school year. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. As the gentleman that came in earlier from Capital Advisors noted that all school buses starting in 2035 are supposed to be electric. He may not know that it's actually starting next year because of the regulations coming from the CARB 2024 regulations. The emissions have to be so low that now the engine manufacturers are pulling out of the state of California. So there are no more diesel school buses past March that they will be made. Buses can still be sold underneath the previous regulations. So what ended up happening is all the school bus manufacturers started to make hundreds and hundreds of buses specifically for California, and all the school districts in the state of California have been buying those buses. And there's, I know in the board agenda it said less than 40 buses. Is far less than that now in the entire state of California to be sold from the company that we purchased from. I did call other companies as well, and they're completely out. There's no buses at all. So these are the last few buses to get. As he stated, they're going to move to electric, no CNG, no diesel. The electric buses, there's no electric bus in the world that can run one of our routes. So they're not worth, it's not worth spending the money until the technology is caught up to what the needs are. So this is a lot of money. I am personally always against debt, but I don't see any other option at this point. I still have a number of buses that are 25 years and older, older than every child that we transport, and it's still need a plan for the future. These larger buses will last at least 20 years or longer, and so as technology comes along, we'll still have buses that can still get kids to and from school, and then as the technology comes in, we can transition over. There are a number of issues with electric, and if you guys wish to ask me any questions, I try not to badmouth the electric buses more than I already do, but I can answer any question that you have.
Just out of morbid curiosity, what would be the procedures of charging a bus? I mean, leaving here, going up to the foothills would be the longest stretch. So a fully charged battery here, go up there, would it have to charge again up there to make it back?
Well, our buses do start up there. And they generally either run around up there or come down. The bus manufacturers, I mean, I saw some said 200 miles the other day. When you actually talk to them and you get them away from everybody, it's less than 100. Some of them still claim to be just over 100. I've got buses do over 300 miles a day. So we would have to definitely need to, when we do start moving into electric, we need to, I would like to do is get a consultant, and we can work through all the processes, because I hear horror stories from other school districts that just, let's get a school bus, and they do, and then it just sits in the back. I know a number of school districts where the school buses sit. They spent $3 million on school buses, and it's not something I think that's a wise venture to do. But a school bus, if there's no brownouts or if there's no wind, right? Because in the mountains they shut off the power if it's windy. And if it's windy, the buses aren't charging. So there's a number of issues that you got to take into consideration. Maybe buy a backup. Well, you can't buy a backup diesel generator; they're outlawed. So the buses, if we had a bus up there, it was windy, they don't charge. Kids don't go to school. If you have a diesel bus, kids could still go to school.
The one question I have for you, Mr. Taylor, was, for a while we were getting the green diesel.
I'm sorry, you have to speak up a little bit.
I'm sorry. For a while we were getting the green diesel buses with, that were at a discount. Has that program gone away?
Yeah, that was the rural school bus grant, and we did get 3 buses from that. And that grant, our third bus, it's only a 3-year grant, and it ends in May of '24. So we still aren't buying green diesel. until May ends. But that went out a couple years ago.
Okay.
There's two other grants that we get. Periodically, I will get the Blue Sky grant, which is usually just one bus, and then I also get the Community Air Protection grant, which has given us a lot of buses over the years.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
So if I read this correctly, the CARB 2024 diesel standards, I haven't read diesel standards in like 10 years. And so I'm a little bit surprised. Is the state, currently there is no heavy engine or medium-sized engine that meets the 2024 CARB standards, even with DEF or a platinum callus?
That is correct.
To meet, no.
So if you think about it, what else runs on diesel engines are your trucks, right? Diesel trucks run on diesel engines, and everything that you have, everything in this room, the grass seat outside has come in on a truck. There's no electric trucks, so I don't know what the plan is for the state of California.
Well, this would also, the medium duties would also apply to the Ford 650s, the top kicks, everything that gravel haulers and everybody else as well. So
a few years ago, our smaller buses, our sped buses, were all diesel, and I think it was about 3 years ago they transitioned to all gasoline.
Oh, okay.
So we don't even have, we don't even get diesel on our smaller medium-duty buses.
Okay.
What's the time frame? You said there's about 40 buses on inventory for California, and they're coming from California?
No, they're built in Indiana. I think they're supposed to be here down in, our dealer's down in Woodland. I think they might be there soon.
Okay.
Or no, actually they got them down in Southern California, and they would just transport them up here.
So time frame from getting them approved, when do we see those in inventory?
I would imagine I would see them within a few weeks. I can't guarantee that, but they're already supposedly sitting down there from what the salesman tells me.
All right, thank you.
It's actually for Jennifer. The item actually says that we don't have a budget source for it?
Well, yeah, that's not correct. What we're going to use is our transportation budget. We set aside so much money for a bus each year, and we'll use that to make the payment out of the transportation budget.
So effectively, the budget is neutral then, is that
Yes,
correct?
Correct.
Any other questions? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion approved by Mr. Steven. Is there a second? Second by Doug Criddle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. We have 2 public comment cards. Angela Stiegel. Mr. Myers.
Good evening again. I'd like to ask for a point of clarification from the board after, in light of the information received tonight, what is the intention now and moving forward in regards to the program transfer?
We are not allowed to, we are only allowed to ask for clarifying questions.
That is a clarifying question. I said point of clarification. No. What are the intentions of the board now and moving forward in regards to the program transfer?
We will be making that decision in November.
Okay, so we will know at the November 14th meeting what your intentions are?
That's the current schedule.
Okay, and it says here in the information that you have to make a decision by November 1, whether or not you want to move forward with this. So how is that going to coincide if you have to make a decision November 1 and you're not going to reconvene with this meeting until November 14th?
Jay, can you answer that?
We are planning to put forward our assurances by the November 1 deadline for program transfer.
So you still, after the events tonight, you still are moving forward with the program transfer?
Yes.
So you only made this available to everybody. So what about the promises you made to all of us about inclusion, Mr. Davis and Dr. Azrani, and you, Mr. Trujillo, and Mrs. Matthews? And I've spoke to some of the board members as well. There's been no further inclusion. You say that there is, but there's not. Your words and your deeds are not the same. I'd like an explanation for that, please. Don't all jump up at once. Mr. Davis? Are you just going to stare at me? I know I'm an attractive man, but I'm not interested in you. So this is how you're going to treat the parents of the programs, by ignoring me. You know, Dr. Azrani, you said at the last meeting we're going to deal with the tough decisions and meet them head on. Circumventing them and ignoring us is not meeting the problems head on. You're real good at patting yourselves on the back and all these programs and awards and everything when things go well. Well, things are not going well, but how are you addressing that?
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at PlumasLakeSelfStorage.com.